Chapter 1063. Cold sweat trickled down Muchu's forehead. He tried to break free from the vines, but the vines were too tight, and he couldn't break free. What on earth do you want? Yun Luofeng gently stroked his chin and asked with a smile, "Tell me, who sent you here?" Muchu was stunned and fear flashed across his eyes. What are you talking about? I don't know. Back then, the Wu family had come to the medical tower and I had seen the attendants that the master of the Wu family had brought with him. But not long ago, I saw you walking with one of the attendants on the street. Muchu raised his head in astonishment and stared at Yun Luofeng. His uncle had indeed brought people to the medical tower, but he had actually remembered the appearance of one of his uncle's attendants? She had even determined his identity from this? This woman was really terrifying. That's right. Muchu laughed bitterly. I was sent by the Wu family and the master of the Wu family is my uncle. Many years ago, my family was attacked by enemies and only my sister and I managed to escape. In order to survive, my sister and I came to the Wu family to seek refuge with my uncle. But I never thought that when my parents were still alive, my uncle would treat my sister and me like his own children. When my parents passed away, I had to become a guard in the Wu family to ensure that my sister and I could live. This time, when my uncle heard that there was such a big commotion at the medical tower, he forced me to sneak into the medical tower and take the opportunity to steal the prescription from the medical tower. Initially, I didn't agree to do this, but the funny thing was that he locked my sister up and forced me to come here. I had no other choice but to come here. Muchu's expression was very pained. For the sake of his sister, he would kill himself without hesitation. Furthermore, my sister is seriously ill and needs to take medicine every day. If I don't get the prescription back, he won't treat my sister. I really have no other way out. Yun Luofeng's black eyes quietly fell on Muchu. Do you think that I will sympathize with you? Muchu was stunned and the expression on his face was very helpless. He had thought that his words would make this woman sympathize with him. Who would have thought that she would have such a heart of stone? Looks like I can't escape death this time. If he died, his sister would not be able to live either. Muchu, I have nothing to do with you and your sister. I will not sympathize with you and I will not help you. I never care about people who have nothing to do with me. I don't need sympathy either. In this world, the only people she cared about were her family. Her heart was very small, so small that it could only accommodate the people around her, but not the entire world. Muchu's expression was a little anxious. Miss Yun, I know you have the power. Please save my sister. As long as you save her, I, Muchu, will work for you for the rest of my life. Yun Luofeng laughed. With your strength, do you think you have the qualifications to work for me? If she hadn't discovered it in time, she didn't know what would have happened. Hence, she wouldn't have let her off so easily. Miss Yun, my power is low and I certainly don't have the right to work for you. However, I am willing to use my life to block all dangers for you. I only ask that you save my sister. A stream of tears flowed down from Muchu's eyes. His gaze was like that of an abandoned wolf cub. Right now, he was still young and didn't have much attacking power, but once he grew up, he would definitely become a ferocious beast. Chapter 1064. Because of the look in his eyes, Yun Luofeng's interest was piqued. If this wild beast was nurtured well, perhaps it would be of help to her. If I ask you to kill the Wu family, would you be willing? Yun Luofeng raised his brows at Muchu and asked. Muchu was stunned. He had not expected that Yun Luofeng would make such a request. Thus he fell silent. After a while, he replied, All these years, the Wu family has always treated us siblings as servants. I've also suffered many beatings and cold. If it weren't for the Wu family, I would have starved to death on the streets, and my sister would have died of a serious illness. No matter how heartless and unjust the Wu family is, they have given me and my sister a way out. Thus, I can only promise you that if the Wu family becomes your enemy, I will stand on your side. On the other hand, I will not kill the Wu family. Even though he was eager to save his sister, he was not willing to be ungrateful. He also knew that if he said these things, Yun Luofeng would not help him. Thinking of this, Muchu closed his eyes. A trace of pain appeared in his eyes. Sister, I'm sorry, I'm useless and can't save you. Suddenly, the vines binding his body retreated. His body loosened and he fell from mid-air, landing heavily on the ground. Mu Chu opened his eyes in astonishment and looked at the white-clothed girl standing in front of him in confusion. Miss Yunyu, Yun Luofeng's lazy smile turned cold. The Wu family sent you to steal the medical books, which indirectly proves that they want to become enemies with the medical tower. When that time comes, I hope that you can fulfill your promise and kill the Wu family. Mu Chu sighed helplessly. Based on the Wu family's personality, they would definitely want to occupy the medical tower. When that time comes, he would definitely shed all pretense of cordiality with the Wu family. Also, Yun Luofeng paused and continued, if you want me to help you, you must prove your abilities to me. There is a dragon pool outside this endless city, and there is a giant dragon guarding it. If you can retrieve a dragon scale from the giant dragon, I will help you and your sister. After all, I will not accept useless people. Mu Chu's expression was determined. I will definitely retrieve the dragon scale. This was his only hope of saving his sister. Take this pill, Wang Yao said. Yun Luofeng took out a pill from his lapel and handed it to Mu Chu. Mu Chu took the pill and swallowed it without hesitation. I don't trust you too much. That's why I used this pill to control you. Yun Luofeng's gaze turned towards Mu Chu once again. Tell me about your sister's condition. Mu Chu hesitated. Why do you want to know this? Only by knowing the illness can we prescribe the right medicine. While you're gone, I'll take care of your sister in secret. However, your mission this time has a time limit. You must return within half a month. The young girl's words caused Mu Chu's eyes to brighten. Miss Yun, thank you for taking care of my sister. That's right, I still don't know what relationship Miss Yun has with this medical tower. What he wanted to ask was what was the relationship between Yun Luofeng and the tower master of the medical tower. Suddenly, a tender laughter sounded from the side. It was unknown when fire had appeared, but her small body was sitting on the beam, swinging her legs, a smile on her jade-carved face. Idiot, since my master is here, then she must be the tower master of the medical tower. Chapter 1065. Like a bolt from the blue, Mu Chu's body trembled as if he had been struck by lightning. This young girl was the tower master of the medical tower? Heavens, he had actually told the tower master not to cut the queue? Thinking of his previous actions, Mu Chu felt so ashamed that he wanted to find a hole to hide in. Yun Luofeng looked at Mu Chu. You only have half a month. Why aren't you leaving? Hearing this, Mu Chu no longer hesitated. He hurriedly opened the door and ran downstairs. He was afraid that if he was late by an hour, Yun Luofeng would change his mind. After all, this medical tower was his last hope, and he couldn't give it up. Miss Yun. After Mu Chu left, Greenwood walked in and laughed. No, in the future, I can't call you Miss Yun anymore. I should call you Tower Master. Yun Luofeng waved his hand. In the outside world, just call me like before. Also, go and find someone for me. The O family's eldest daughter. Greenwood's speed was very fast. In just a short while, he had already sent the news about the O family's eldest daughter. At this time, Yun Luofeng had already left the medical tower and had returned to the house that Greenwood had bought in the western part of the city. The O family's eldest daughter is called Oya and is the #1 genius in Endless City. She's not as beautiful as Nangong Lan from the Nangong family. At most, she's a delicate beauty, but she's the dream lover of countless men. Her elegance and nobility has attracted many men. It's said that many men have fought over her. Yun Luofeng frowned. That's not what I want to know, but what I want to know about her character. This. Greenwood hesitated for a moment. I don't know yet. After all, I only know what she's like. Tower Master, why do you want to know about Oya? Yun Luofeng laughed. Nothing much. A friend of mine has taken a fancy to Oya. I just want to understand the situation. That's right. Have you heard about what happened between Oya and Nangong Uni? Greenwood looked at Yun Luofeng strangely, but still answered his question. Nangong Uni likes Oya. This is something that everyone in Endless City knows. As for Oya, she hasn't said anything, nor has she rejected him. I don't know what's going on either. Didn't say anything? Since he didn't say anything, it was a form of rejection. It seemed that after coming to this continent, Nangong Yuni would still suffer from emotional pain. Just as Yun Luofeng was about to continue investigating the situation, a familiar voice suddenly came from outside the door. Yun Luofeng, it was really not easy for me to find you. Now that I'm here, why aren't you coming out to welcome me? Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows. Speak of the devil. Greenwood, I'm going to see an old friend. Chow Chow? Greenwood rubbed his head. Who is this Chow Chow? An old friend of the pagoda master? Inside the courtyard, Yun Luofeng saw the man walking over quickly from afar. The smile in his eyes gradually melted as he greeted him. Nangong, how did you find this place? Nangong Yuni chuckled and flipped the hair on his forehead handsomely. What kind of person is this young master? With a pinch of his fingers, he calculated your location. Is that so? Did you calculate whether you would fall today? Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes and smirked. What a joke, how could this young master possibly know how to wrestle? Chapter 1066. After saying this, he wanted to strike a cool pose, but at this time, a leg tripped him from the side. He was caught off guard and tripped, falling headfirst. Yun Luofeng nonchalantly retracted his leg and shrugged. Looks like your finger pinching isn't too accurate. Nangong Yuni crawled up with his face covered in dirt and looked at Yun Luofeng resentfully. Yun Luofeng, you really are ruthless. This young master inquired for so long to find this place, and you actually treat me like this. Speak, what did you come to find me for? Yun Luofeng asked straightforwardly. Nangong Yuni's gaze became even more resentful. 3 days from now is my birthday. I specially came to find you, and you actually gave me such a big greeting gift? Birthday? Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows and smiled. What gift do you want? I'll go find it for you. Nangong Yuni blinked. I want a spirit beast. Can you give it to me? Spirit beast? Yun Luofeng muttered to himself for a while and nodded. Wait a few days, I'll go find it for you. Ha! Nangong Yuni laughed loudly and put his arm on Yun Luofeng's shoulder. Good brother, you're very kind. Then I'll be waiting for your birthday present. Nangong Yuni never doubted Yun Luofeng's words. This woman always did what she said. As long as she said it, she would definitely do it. Of course, that was for her own people. Facing enemies, when did she ever keep her words? Enemies were meant to be tricked. First of all, I don't want a weak spirit beast. The spirit beast I want should at least be at the sky spirit realm. Nangong Yuni's words were very impolite. What a joke. With his relationship with Yun Luofeng, what was there to be polite about? 3 days. 3 days from now, I'll bring your birthday gift to the Nangong family. The spirit beast she planned to give to Nangong Yuni must be very outstanding. How could the strength of the sky spirit realm be enough? Nangong Yuni patted Yun Luofeng's shoulder. Then I'll wait for you at the Nangong family. You must come. 3 days passed in a flash. During these 3 days, there was still a long line outside the medical tower, and the popularity was no less than before. Countless doctors from far away came, causing the western part of the city to become incomparably lively. However, during these 3 days, Yun Luofeng seemed to have disappeared. He no longer showed his face in the western part of the city. Except for a few people, no one knew where she was. Amidst the lively atmosphere in the western part of the city, another piece of news came out, causing the already noisy western part of the city to immediately burst into an uproar. The Nangong family was going to help an illegitimate son hold a birthday party? This was simply a disgrace to the ancestors. Even if this illegitimate son had already acknowledged his ancestors, he would at most be a bastard son. Since ancient times, there had never been a birthday banquet held for a bastard son. Because of this, one could see how much the Nangong family had doted on his illegitimate son. After all, after Nangong Lan was born, the Nangong family did not have any children. They had countless concubines in the backyard and none of them were pregnant. In addition, Nangong Lan was a woman, so this illegitimate son was quite favored by the Nangong family head. At this time, the Nangong family was brightly lit. Servants were busy going in and out, making it very noisy. Countless horse carriages stopped outside the Nangong family and walked in with smiles on their faces. No matter how much they disdained Nangong Yuni, this illegitimate son, they had to give face to the Nangong family head. Chapter 1067. The Nangong Family. In the courtyard, Nangong Yuni was looking outside, as if he was waiting for someone to arrive. When Nangong Qing saw his son's actions, a light flashed in his eyes. He slowly walked to his son's side and gently asked, Are you waiting for someone? Nangong Yuni nodded, but his eyes never looked at his father. His gaze was on the crowd outside the courtyard, searching for a familiar voice. Suddenly, a peerlessly beautiful face was reflected in his eyes. His eyes instantly lit up and he quickly walked out to welcome her. At the entrance of the Nangong family, the crowd saw Nangong Yuni quickly approaching and hurriedly made way. From start to finish, Nangong Yuni's gaze did not look at anyone else. He walked to Yun Luofeng's side and naturally placed his arm on her shoulder. Yun Luofeng, you're finally here. I thought you were going to stand me up. Yun Luofeng raised her eyebrows and smiled. I will definitely do what I promised you. Ha, Nangong Yuni laughed and curled his lips. Come, I'll bring you in. The crowd once again made way, allowing Yun Luofeng and Nangong Yuni to pass through the crowd. However, when they saw how Nangong Yuni treated Yun Luofeng, they could not help but guess the identity of this woman. Young Mississippi. Behind the crowd, a luxurious carriage came to a stop. The servant girl stretched out her hand, and a moment later, a hand as fair as jade reached out from the carriage. With the servant girl's help, the person jumped down from the carriage. The servant girl glanced at Nangong Yuni's departing figure, her expression somewhat angry. Didn't this young master Nangong often pester young miss? Why is it that on his birthday today, the person he specially waited for isn't young miss? Nangong Yuni was only a bastard son. His status was low, and his young miss would never accept him. However, the young miss did not accept him as the young Mississippi. How could Nangong Yuni ignore his young miss for another woman? Oh Ya's elegant eyebrows tightly knitted. Her indifferent eyes glanced at the servant girl next to her and said, Don't talk nonsense in the Nangong family. It is said that the Nangong family's patriarch loves Nangong Yuni very much. So, if you say something wrong, it will certainly destroy the relationship between the O family and the Nangong family. Yes, miss, the maidservant curled her lips, still feeling a little indignant. However, miss, this servant has long heard that the eldest young master of the Nangong family is unrestrained and dissolute, with countless women in his arms. From what this servant can see, that white-robed woman is only one of those women who curry favor with those in power. I really don't know what kind of taste eldest young master Nangong has, to actually not wait for eldest miss for such a woman. Oya stared at the noisy Nangong family without batting an eyelid. So what if he can wait for me? It's destined to be impossible between me and him. That's true. The servant girl raised her chin proudly. Eldest miss, you are so noble. How can a bastard match you? Even if this bastard son is doted on by the Nangong family head, he is still a bastard son. Those old fellows of the Nangong family will never let him inherit the throne. The person that my young miss marries must be a dragon or phoenix among men. Nangong Yuni is not worthy of eldest Mississippi. Let's go. Oya paused, then said, After all, it was father who asked me to attend the birthday banquet today. So, even if I don't like Nangong Yuni, I must still stay here. Chapter 1068. With that, Oya strode elegantly into the Nangong family's banquet. In the banquet hall, Yun Luofeng had just walked in when he bumped into a girl in green. When the girl saw Yun Luofeng, she was stunned for a moment and couldn't help but cry out, It's you! Hearing this, Yun Luofeng raised his head. In an instant, a beautiful face appeared in his line of sight. The girl in front of him was extremely beautiful and her expression was calm. Even when she saw Yun Luofeng, other than the initial surprise, she didn't show any other emotions. She even smiled in return. I didn't think we would meet again. Nangong Yuni extended his hand and shielded Yun Luofeng behind him. He looked at Nangong Lan with vigilance. Nangong Lan sneered, Big brother, look at how nervous you are. It's not like I'm going to eat her up. Speaking of which, you have so many women around you but you've never been nervous about any of them. Could it be that this girl is more important than Oya in your heart? Nangong Yuni loved Oya deeply. This was no secret in Endless City. Thus, it was no wonder that Nangong Lan would say such a thing. Who knew that when faced with Nangong Lan's question, Nangong Yuni would snort disdainfully, Oya can't be compared to her. It was true that he liked Oya. However, if Oya wanted to become Yun Luofeng's enemy, he would definitely stand by her side regardless of everything. Nangong Lan smiled. She glanced at Oya, who was walking into the banquet hall, and the corners of her lips curled into a smile as if her scheme had succeeded. Oya seemed to have heard Nangong Yuni's words. Her expression was very calm, without any fluctuations. On the contrary, the servant girl beside her was furious. Her eyes glared fiercely at Yun Luofeng and Nangong Yuni. In her heart, she angrily cursed the adulterous couple. Nangong Yuni, this idiot, actually said that his young miss couldn't be compared to that woman? How could a beautiful vase who fawned on the rich and powerful compare to his young miss? Nangong Yuni clearly saw Oya appear behind him. His expression suddenly changed. At this moment, he realized that he had fallen into Nangong Lan's trap. Oya had never accepted him. Now, it was even more impossible for him to make her accept him. However, he didn't regret it, because these words were the truth in his heart. Yun Luofeng patted Nangong Yuni's shoulder and raised her head to look at Oya. When she saw Oya, her pupils shrank. She finally understood why Nangong Yuni was so deeply in love with Oya, because Oya's appearance was very similar to his girlfriend in China. She was also the prettiest girl in Wuxia University, you know? Nangong Yuni bitterly laughed. When I first saw Oya on this continent, I couldn't help but want to get close to her because the two of them are too similar. I couldn't control myself. Yun Luofeng lowered his eyes and consoled warmly, "Don't worry, I'll think of a way to let you go back. However, you have to be clear that the two of them are not the same person." Nangong Yuni nodded as a smile appeared on his handsome face. "I understand." He had fallen into a trance, but no one could pull him up. Now, Yun Luofeng's appearance was like a rope that pulled him ashore. At this moment, Nangong Qing, who was receiving guests outside, heard the commotion and quickly walked in. What's going on?" Nangong Yuni raised his head and looked at Nangong Qing. He curled the corners of his lips in an unruly manner. "Nothing much, I'm just making arrangements for my friend. Yun Luofeng, you'll be sitting in the first row in a moment." Chapter 1069. Big Brother. Nangong Lan's expression slightly changed. The two seats in the first row are for the Wu family, only the O family has the qualifications to sit there. Nangong Yuni turned his head and swept a glance at her. "Didn't the Wu family not come? Just happened to have an extra seat, give it to my friend." At this moment, Nangong Lan's expression was very ugly. In this banquet, her seat had already fallen to the fifth row. If she let Yun Luofeng sit in the first row, wouldn't that mean that he was suppressing her? "Father!" She hurriedly looked at Nangong Qing and opened her mouth, wanting to say something. Nangong Yuni snorted. He held the back of his head in a sloppy manner and held a straw in his mouth. "This is my birthday, so I have to decide how to arrange it. If you don't agree, then there's no need for this birthday banquet to continue. You can all leave now." After saying this, he threw away the straw in his mouth and turned to Yun Luofeng. "I also don't want to stay in this Nangong family. If they can't even properly arrange for my friend to come here, then why should I stay?" "Yun Luofeng, didn't we say before that we were going to travel north and south of Great Chuan? Why don't we take this opportunity to experience it?" Everyone knew that Nangong Yuni of the Nangong family, besides being lustful, was a downright hedonistic son of rich parents. However, the Nangong family's master doted on him, so he condoned all of his unreasonable behavior. Sure enough, hearing this, Nangong Qing frowned, looked at Nangong Lan reproachfully, then turned his gaze to Nangong Yuni and gently said, "This is your birthday banquet. You should indeed be the one to decide where you want her to sit. It's all up to you to arrange." Hearing this, Nangong Yuni smiled. He winked at Yun Luofeng, as if showing off his power. "Let's go." He pulled Yun Luofeng's arm and walked towards the first row. Nangong Qing looked at their departing figures, lost in thought. Miss, the O family servant girl stamped her feet, feeling indignant. This Nangong Uni is too much. He actually let that woman sit with you, miss. What status does she have? Does she have the qualifications to sit side by side with miss? A lowly woman who fawns on power. She's simply tarnishing miss nobility. How could a woman who befriended Nangong Uni be anything good? Friend? How could there be pure friendship between men and women? He was clearly trying to absolve himself of his beastly behavior. Oh, you didn't say anything. Her cold gaze fell on Yun Luofeng, and a cold light flashed across her beautiful eyes. No matter who saw a man who had once pestered them set his eyes on another woman, they would not feel good in their heart. Even if she did not love this man. Master. At this time, just as Yun Luofeng and Nangong Uni walked to their seats, Little Mo's annoyed voice came from their soul. This Nangong Uni really has a problem with his eyesight. He actually fell in love with such a hypocritical woman. This woman is no different from Nangong family's Nangong Lan. No matter how low the O clan's maid's voice was, it could not escape Little Mo's ears. So, when he heard those people insult Yun Luofeng, he was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. Even the small tree had already extended its vines to the ground, preparing to use these vines to kill people. Moreover, he had stopped them in time. Otherwise, the people of the O clan would have died here. He didn't like the people of the O clan, but he didn't want Nangong Uni's birthday banquet to become a blood banquet. Chapter 1070. Yun Luofeng took a sip of tea. Who Nangong Uni likes, that's his own business. As a friend, I can keep an eye on him, but I can't make decisions for him. Even if the woman he likes is trash, it has nothing to do with me. As a friend, he couldn't interfere with the feelings of the other person. It was like this in the previous life, and it was the same in this life. Nangong, Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows and looked at the man beside him. I think your father treats you well. Nangong Uni sneered. He treats me well because I'm his only son. This guy values boys more than girls. No matter how strong Nangong Lan is, he's not willing to give the position to her. He paused and continued. Moreover, on the first day I came back, he wanted me to inherit the position. But I wasn't interested in his Nangong family, so I deliberately acted like a playboy. Sure enough, seeing that I was so useless, he didn't mention the matter of inheriting the position for the time being. But this is not a long-term solution. Once I inherit the Nangong family, Nangong Lan and her people won't let me go. If he hadn't deliberately acted useless, Nangong Lan and her daughter wouldn't have kept him alive until now. Perhaps he would have already gone to the underworld. Sometimes being a playboy was also a protective color. Fortunately, you're here now. Nangong Uni's gaze turned to Yun Luofeng. Your ability has always been stronger than mine. I also believe that as long as you're here, I will live. You believe me like that? If I don't believe you, who else can I believe? Yun Luofeng, you're the only person I can trust in this world. Yun Luofeng was silent. Over the years, she had encountered many enemies. Now, there was an even stronger Tian Hui Empire waiting for her. If she let Nangong Uni stay by her side, she would definitely drag him down. It seemed that she had to help Nangong Uni settle the matter here as soon as possible and then leave. Oya gradually walked to the seat and gracefully sat down. It was as if she ignored the existence of Yun Luofeng and Nangong Uni. From beginning to end, she didn't even look at the two. The servant girl sneered, her face full of sarcasm. Miss, there are always some people in this world who like to curry favor. Women like you, who rely on their own strength, are more worthy of respect. With her own strength? Yun Luofeng raised the corner of his lips. Isn't she relying on her father? You. Anger flashed across the maid's face. She took a deep breath, suppressing the anger in her heart. She turned her gaze towards Nangong Uni. Young Master Nangong, did you not see this woman bullying my young miss? Nangong Uni frowned, turned his head, and continued to chat with Yun Luofeng. The maidservant's face turned even more ashen. She could not believe that this man who liked to follow behind the young miss would have a change of heart so quickly. Xiaomeng, Oya calmly glanced at her maidservant and spoke with an expressionless face. This is the Nangong family home and that lady is young Master Nangong's guest. Don't be too presumptuous. Yes, Mississippi, the maidservant lowered her head and answered unwillingly. Father. In the midst of the noisy crowd, Nangong Lan's clear voice sounded out. For Big Brother's birthday this time, I have specially prepared a precious gift for him. I hope Big Brother will like it. She lifted her hand and patted it lightly. In an instant, four guards carried a cage and walked into the courtyard with difficulty. Chapter 1071. In an instant, everyone's gazes were focused on the cage, including Nangong Qing. What is this? It's actually being carried in a cage? I see that the cage is constantly shaking. It should be alive. Alive? Could it be a spiritual beast? Everyone was shocked. Spiritual beasts were very difficult to obtain. To tame a spiritual beast, not only did one need to spend a lot of effort, one also needed to have enough power. Nangong Lan had actually brought a spiritual beast as a birthday gift? It seemed that Nangong Lan really treated her elder brother extremely well. Following Nangong Lan's orders, the guards put down the cage and lifted the red cloth covering it. Immediately, a huge red lion appeared in front of everyone's eyes. The lion's entire body was blood red and it was incomparably ferocious. However, the violent lion was actually lying docilely in the cage, like an obedient kitten. Heavens, it's the king of the forest, the blood lion. This blood lion is very precious. Young Master Nangong has obtained a treasure this time. Nangong Lan said with a smile, I spent several months taming this blood lion. My goal is to give it to Big Brother, so that Big Brother's safety can be guaranteed. Nangong Qing looked at his daughter and a complicated look flashed across his eyes. Logically speaking, Nangong Lan was very powerful and outstanding. Giving the Nangong family to her was the best choice. Unfortunately, Nangong Lan was a daughter. How could a woman take on such a heavy responsibility? Women could only be subordinates, they could not step on men's heads. Father, Nangong Lan's smile deepened. Previously, I met this friend of Big Brother's and I even fought over a spiritual beast with her. She must know that Big Brother likes small animals like spiritual beasts, so she stole the spiritual beast to please Big Brother. After speaking, Nangong Lan turned to look at Yun Luofeng. Miss Yun, I wonder if you brought that spiritual beast? Nangong Yuni frowned. Just as he was about to explode in anger, a hand reached out from the side and pressed down on his arm. The young girl lazily leaned against the back of the chair, and her lips curled into a devilish smile. It seems like the Nangong family's young miss has a bad memory, causing her to forget what happened a few days ago. If that's the case, you should find a doctor to treat you as soon as possible. Nangong Lan's expression did not change as she smiled. Miss Yun, what do you mean by that? Firstly, when we were fighting over the spiritual beast that day, I had already said that the spiritual beast was a gift for my disciple. Secondly, I did not take away the spirit beast, it chose me. These words did not make Nangong Lan angry. She still had a smile on her face. I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said. I thought you wanted to fight for the spiritual beast because you wanted to give it to my big brother. However, this can't be blamed on you. After all, in your heart, my big brother isn't as important as your disciple. Yun Luofeng's evil eyes glanced at Nangong Lan, then faced Nangong Yuni. He took out a ring from his lapel and handed it to him. This is my gift for you. See if you like it? Spatial ring? Puchi. Looking at the gift that Yun Luofeng had taken out, everyone present could not help but laugh out loud. Ha, I'm dying of laughter. She actually took out a spatial ring to give to Sir Nangong? That's right, based on her status, the most precious item she could take out would be a spatial ring. Chapter 1072. That's right. In the eyes of the commoners, a spatial ring is already a rare treasure. However, to the Nangong family, they don't lack spatial rings. She definitely can't take out anything decent, so she used a spatial ring as a congratulatory gift. The corners of Nangong Lan's lips curled up into an arc. A mocking expression appeared on her elegant face. A spatial ring? The person who took out such a gift was definitely not someone of high status. Thus, her father could clearly see what kind of friends Nangong Yuni had made. However, Nangong Qing was not as angry as Nangong Lan had imagined. His eyes were filled with excitement as he stared at the ring that Yun Luofeng had gifted Nangong Yuni. This ring, according to the legends, is a ring that can store a spiritual beast. After a long while, Nangong Qing's trembling voice rang out. In an instant, the people who had been mocking Yun Luofeng were all stunned. According to the legends, a ring that can store a spiritual beast? This ring is a spiritual beast ring? Could it be that this lady had already guessed that Miss Nangong's gift would be a spiritual beast, so she conveniently used this ring as a gift? A spiritual beast ring is indeed precious, but Miss Nangong's gift is still more practical. Thus, this time, she lost to Miss Nangong. Yun Luofeng acted as if he did not hear the mocking voices and shrugged his shoulders. I found this ring while I was searching for a gift for you, so I conveniently bought it for you to see if you liked it. What she meant was that this spiritual beast ring was not a gift she had given to Nangong Yuni. She had just conveniently bought it? Nangong Yuni returned to his senses. He looked at Yun Luofeng and suddenly understood something. He put the ring on his own finger. Soon after, his finger gently stroked the ring. Immediately, a ray of light was reflected from within the ring. It was a brilliant white light. Within the white light, a blurry figure gradually appeared. It was a small sable. Its body was as white as snow, and it had a unique purple tail. Its agate-like purple eyes rolled around randomly. It was clever and frightening. This small sable had a pair of wings on its body, like the feathers of an angel, pure white and clean. A small sable? A mocking laugh came from within the crowd. This small sable is at most suitable for acting cute. It simply cannot fight. It can't compare to Miss Nangong's bloodlion. Nangong Yuni slowly walked to the front of the small marten and indifferently said, "To me, no one can compare to this small marten." Because this spirit beast was a gift from Yun Luofeng. No matter how powerful the bloodlion was, it was not as important as this little sable. The small marten looked disdainfully at the person who had just ridiculed it. It lifted its short legs and walked elegantly towards the caged blood lion. When the blood lion saw little marten approaching it, it let out a warning roar. There was a slight tremor in its voice, but no one could tell. "Young Lady Nangong, release your blood lion and show this little marten what it's made of." The man continued to ridicule her. It was obvious that he did not care about this cute little marten at all. The small marten snorted and slowly walked in front of the blood lion. It raised its head and arrogantly looked down at the blood lion. The blood lion finally felt fear. Its large body hurriedly took a few steps back. Its body trembled violently, as if the seemingly harmless small marten was some kind of ferocious wild beast. When they saw this scene, the people who had been ridiculing it immediately choked back their words. Their faces were filled with astonishment. Chapter 1073. Did they see wrongly? The mighty and strong blood lion would be afraid of a small sable? Dual-winged sable. Nangong Qing's voice became even more excited. This is a rare spirit beast, the dual-winged sable. Furthermore, this sable's strength should be at the venerable spirit beast realm. At this moment, everyone's expressions were very interesting. Their faces seemed to have been dyed with green and purple. Nangong Yuni laughed out loud and placed his hand on Yun Luofeng's shoulder. "Yun Luofeng, you're really a good friend. I only asked you to give me a holy spirit beast. I didn't expect you to give me such a big surprise." Compared to Yun Luofeng's purple-tailed sable, what was the blood lion? Nangong Lan's eyes flashed and she smiled towards Yun Luofeng. "Miss Yun, you are indeed my big brother's best friend. This time, I admit my defeat. I wonder if Miss Yun can tell me where you caught this purple-tailed sable? I also want to try my luck." "I think it's better for you to save your blood lion first," Yun Luofeng said with a light smile. Nangong Lan's expression suddenly changed. "What do you mean by that?" "What I mean is that your blood lion has been poisoned. It won't live for long." From the moment the blood lion was carried up, Yun Luofeng had sensed that something was wrong with it. This blood lion wasn't really tamed, it had been poisoned. The poison made it powerless, it could only lie in the cage and wait for death. Even when it roared at the small sable, it didn't have enough strength. It was clear that it was beyond cure. Also, Yun Luofeng paused, this poison has made this blood lion powerless now. but not long after, it will become abnormally ferocious. Anyone who gets close to it will be bitten to death. Nangong Lan's face paled. She tried her best to suppress the fear in her heart and said with a trembling voice, "What do you mean? Someone wants to harm my Nangong family? But my Nangong family has never made enemies with anyone. Why would they want to use me to harm my Nangong family members?" After Nangong Lan said this, everyone else also calmed down. That's right, who would be so daring to make a move against the Nangong family? There are so many doctors here, but none of them noticed this. What does a little girl like you know? Hearing these people's words, Nangong Yuni's complexion became even more unsightly. He snorted and said, "You guys didn't discover anything. That proves that your learning skills aren't good enough. All of you are useless." "We're useless?" An old man flew into a rage. "Young Master Nangong, we didn't bicker with you because of Patriarch Nangong, yet you dare to slander us like this? Yes, our skills are not good, so we can't see anything. However, I've long heard that Oya of the O clan is proficient in medical skills at such a young age. Even many famous grandmasters who have been famous for many years admit that they are inferior to them. Now that Miss Oya is here, why don't we invite her to take a look?" In an instant, many gazes landed on Oya. Oya put down the chopsticks in her hand and slowly stood up. Her movements were elegant and she exuded an air of nobility. "It seems that for the sake of the Nangong family, I'm here to check if this spiritual beast has really been poisoned." In front of everyone, Oya walked to the blood lion's cage. She lowered her body and carefully observed the blood lion in the cage. After a while, she stood up and shook her head. "This spiritual beast is very healthy. It doesn't have any illness." The crowd was in an uproar. Words of ridicule once again shot toward Yun Luofeng like knives. Chapter 1074. We've already said that there's no problem. Now that even Miss Oya has said so, what else do you have to say? Could it be that all of us doctors can't compare to you? Yun Luofeng smiled slightly and lifted his head to look at Oya. "Have you heard of the mad beast disease?" Oya nodded. "This mad beast disease is an incurable disease. If a spirit beast contracted this disease, it must be put to death." "Then what about the symptoms of the mad beast disease?" Yun Luofeng continued to ask. Oya muttered to herself for a moment. "Spirit beasts that contract this disease will not have any symptoms in the early stages, but in the later stages, they will suddenly go crazy and are extremely afraid of wind and water. If they encounter these two things, they will go crazy and attack humans. It's not that there are no symptoms in the early stages of the mad beast disease, it's just that you can't feel it." Yun Luofeng smiled evilly. "Also, if you encounter a spirit beast that is infected with the mad beast disease and take its saliva and mix it with a few other herbs, it will produce a deadly poison. Clearly, this blood lion was infected with this poison." Oya was stunned. "Symptoms in the early stages of the mad beast disease? I've never heard of it." When the others heard this, they hurriedly agreed. "It's not only Miss Oya who hasn't heard of it, we haven't either. You must be talking nonsense. Master, don't believe this woman." Yun Luofeng swept a glance at the old man who spoke. "If you don't know, that means you're ignorant." The old man was so angry his face turned green. "You dare say I'm ignorant? Let me tell you, I joined the medical tower a few days ago. There are so many medical books in the medical tower, but none of them have this symptom. Even if you invite the master of the medical tower, she will still think you're talking nonsense." Medical tower? Yun Luofeng slightly narrowed her eyes. "It seems that the medical tower's security needs to be stricter. We can't let just anyone enter the medical tower." The old man sneered. "I relied on my own strength to enter the medical tower. If your medical skills are really powerful, why can't you even enter the medical tower? This only proves that you're just a liar." Yun Luofeng didn't say anything more to the old man. She turned to Nangong Yuni. "Go get a bowl of water." Nangong Yuni understood what Yun Luofeng was going to do next. He nodded and hurriedly walked out of the banquet hall. Before he left, he subconsciously glanced at Nangong Lan. If this blood lion was really poisoned, it could only mean that even if he was a useless hedonist, Nangong Lan would not let him off. A moment later, Nangong Yuni carried a basin of water and walked in. He silently walked to the front of the cage and poured the water over the blood lion's head. The entire banquet hall was silent. Everyone stared at the cage without blinking. No one noticed Nangong Lan's pale face. Roar! When the clear water entered his body, it seemed to aggravate the blood lion's condition. He crazily hit the cage, and his originally docile eyes became extremely ferocious, and his pupils were blood red. In the banquet hall, there was no other noise other than the sound of the blood lions hitting the cages. Everyone remained silent, and their gazes changed from the initial surprise to a complicated one. The blood lion had really gone crazy. Yun Luofeng was telling the truth. What a joke! They were just laughing at her. When they thought of the words they had said, they all wanted to find a hole to hide in. It was better than being here and making a fool of themselves. Oya's face darkened. She clenched her fists tightly, and her cold gaze swept towards Yun Luofeng. Chapter 1075. She had been outshone by someone of the same age. This was a humiliation she had never suffered in her entire life. One day she would get it back with interest. Who was it? Who poisoned my blood lion? Suddenly, a furious roar rang out. After Nangong Lan shouted those words, she quickly walked in front of Nangong Yuni. 2 streams of tears flowed down from her eyes. Big brother, I've let you down. I didn't look after the blood lion properly and allowed someone to take advantage of it. Don't worry, I'll find out who framed you and get justice for you. Her tear-stained face made it impossible for anyone to associate her with the culprit. Nangong Qing's face darkened and he said coldly, Lan'er, very few people can come into contact with your spiritual beast. How could you not know that someone poisoned you? Nangong Lan shook her head. I don't know what happened either. From what I see, it's impossible for anyone to come into contact with this spiritual beast. Father, you must find out the truth and avenge Big Brother. A few elders in the clan couldn't stand it any longer. They stood up and said, Young lady had good intentions, but who knew that she was being used? Perhaps, the person who wanted to harm her was young lady. He didn't know that young lady wanted to give the blood lion away. Master, young lady is also a victim. Don't blame her. Her feelings for eldest young master are so sincere. Now that this matter has happened, she will be more upset than anyone else. Nangong Qing's expression gradually softened. Lan'er, leave first. It's best if you find out the truth as soon as possible. Otherwise, don't blame me for not recognizing you as my daughter. Nangong Lan lowered her head and clenched her fists tightly. Yes, father. Your daughter will obey. After saying this, she raised her head. Her gaze seemed to inadvertently sweep across Yun Luofeng's face before she turned and walked out the door. The moment she turned around, the hatred in her eyes could no longer be hidden. Her gaze was ferocious. Yun Luofeng, first you stole my spiritual beast. Now you caused my plan to fail. I won't let you off. Nangong Qing smiled as he looked at Nangong Yuni. With a gentle voice, he said, I frightened you. Go and rest with your friend. Father will help you with this matter. Nangong Yuni nodded. Just as he was about to turn around and leave, Yun Luofeng's voice suddenly came from the side. Nangong, this blood lion was given to you as a birthday present. Wouldn't it be a pity if you don't take it? Nangong Yuni stopped and blinked his eyes. But it's been poisoned. Even if I keep it, it won't recognize me. Give me a moment. After Yun Luofeng finished speaking, she slowly walked towards the blood lion. A few silver needles appeared in her hand and she quickly inserted them into the spirit beast's body. The originally restless blood lion suddenly quietened down and stood quietly in the cage, not moving an inch. Use the plague flower, blood spirit grass, golden ginseng, heavenly heart fruit, and a drop of this blood lion's blood to make a medicinal soup. Feed it for 3 days and it will recover. Yun Luofeng said these words to Nangong Qing. After she finished speaking, she walked towards Nangong Yuni. The corners of her lips curled up slightly. It's getting late. I should leave now. I'll send you off. There's no need. Yun Luofeng shook her head. Nangong, with the protection of these 2 spiritual beasts, your safety is no longer a problem. After she finished speaking, She did not look back and gradually disappeared into the night. Chapter 1076. The next day. On the first floor of the medical tower, in a spacious hall, many doctors stood there, looking at each other. They had no idea why Qing Mu had summoned everyone so urgently. At that moment, no one noticed the snow-white figure in the corner. The young girl leaned lazily against the wall, smiling as she looked at the doctors. "It's you!" At that moment, an old man finally noticed Yun Luofeng's presence and cried out in surprise. Yun Luofeng raised her eyebrows as she looked over. Suddenly she laughed. Was this what it meant to be enemies on a narrow road? The gray-robed old man in front of her was the doctor who had mocked her at the Nangong family's house last night. "So you've already joined the medical tower?" the old man harumphed. "No wonder you were so confident yesterday. However, it's only been a night, and we don't know if the medicine you gave to the Nangong family's leader will work." Perhaps the old man's voice had attracted the attention of the crowd, but when those who had seen Yun Luofeng at the entrance of the medical tower heard the argument between the two of them, they couldn't help but look at the old man in sympathy. They didn't know the relationship between Yun Luofeng and the medical tower, but they could see the respect that Master Qing Mu had for her. But this old man dared to speak to her like that? The old man ignored the sympathetic gazes and continued to speak arrogantly. "Little girl, if you know what's good for you, you'd better apologize to me. After all, with my medical skills, I'll at least be able to become an attendant in the medical tower. Perhaps when that time comes, you'll even have to work for me. If you apologize, I'll even promote you." "You're blocking my view." Yun Luofeng raised her eyebrows. "Move aside." "What did you say?" The old man flew into a rage. "You don't know what's good for you. If you fall into my hands in the future, I won't let you off." "In the future?" No, Yun Luofeng shook her head. "We don't have a future." As she spoke, the green-robed Qing Mu appeared in her line of sight. She hurriedly returned to her original position and glanced at Yun Luofeng proudly. "Everyone," Qing Mu coughed dryly, "these past few days, many people have been guessing who the tower master of the medical tower is. Because it was only for registration, and the tower master was rather busy, he didn't appear. This time, the registration has basically ended, so there are a few things that the tower master will personally give instructions for." "Pagoda master?" Everyone's eyes were filled with excitement. They wanted to know if the legendary pagoda master was really as powerful as the rumors said. "Master Qing Mu, when will the tower master appear?" A young man suppressed the excitement in his heart and asked hurriedly. Qing Mu was startled and said, "Isn't the pagoda lord already here? What? Hasn't she told us who she is?" Then he turned to look at Yun Luofeng. Thus, the other people's gazes also followed him and landed on Yun Luofeng. The gray-robed old man was stunned. He couldn't wrap his head around what was happening. He didn't understand why Grandmaster Qing Mu was looking at Yun Luofeng. Just as his face was filled with shock, the snow-white robe floated past him and slowly walked towards Greenwood on the high platform. The girl's fine black hair fluttered in the wind. Her smile was lazy and evil. Her deep, black eyes gradually fell on the crowd. Her eyes were filled with arrogance and confidence. It was so dazzling that no one could look away. The gray-robed old man's mind went blank as he stared at the young girl standing next to Greenwood. His expression was simply marvelous. Chapter 1077. Qing Mu. Yun Luofeng extended her hand in front of Qing Mu and a stern look flashed across her demonic eyes. Qing Mu understood what she meant and placed a document in front of Yun Luofeng. Yun Luofeng took the document and flipped through it. Her lips curled into a small smile. Lin Yu became famous at the age of 12. After becoming famous, he despised his mother for being a burden and abandoned her. For the sake of power, he did not hesitate to cling on to the eldest daughter of the governor's family and used a scheme to win her heart. However, when his power surpassed the governor's family, he immediately wrote a letter of divorce and abandoned his wife and son. Yun Luofeng closed the document and glanced at the pale, gray-robed elder with her demonic eyes. She smiled faintly. "Last night, you claimed that you were extremely talented and that even the medical tower would fight to recruit you. Just now, you even claimed that you would become a protector after entering the medical tower. But why should the medical tower keep someone like you who would disregard his own family for the sake of power? The gray-robed elder's face turned even paler as he stared at Yun Luofeng in horror. In such a short period of time, had the medical tower managed to investigate his background so thoroughly? What was the origin of this medical tower? For you. Up until now, the gray-robed elder still could not believe that this young girl whom he had mocked and ridiculed was the legendary tower master of the Chinese medicine tower. Yun Luofeng glared coldly at the gray-robed elder. I was the one who established this medical tower. Who do you think I am? Boom. Like a bolt from the blue, the gray-robed elder's body trembled violently and he stumbled back. Initially, he had threatened Yun Luofeng that if she wanted to stay in the medical tower, she would have to apologize. Who would have thought that this young girl was the tower master of the medical tower? When he thought of what he had just said, he wished that he could bang his head against the wall and die. It would be better than to embarrass himself here. Initially, I thought that they did not set up any barriers and that any doctor could enter. Now, it seems that this is very inappropriate. Yun Luofeng's lips curled slightly as her demonic eyes stared coldly at the gray-robed elder. Qing Mu, be careful in the future. Those who wish to enter the medical tower must first investigate their character. If their character is not up to standard, the medical tower will not accept them. Qing Mu nodded. Then this Lin Yu, expel him. Yun Luofeng's thin lips parted slightly, but the words that came out were very heartless. Lin Yu's expression changed completely and he roared angrily, My medical skills are renowned on this mainland, yet you want to chase me out? If I leave, it will be the greatest loss to your medical tower. At the end of his speech, Lin Yu's voice grew louder and louder. He was so agitated that his spittle flew everywhere. I'm sorry. I don't think that not having you is a loss to the medical tower. There was a smile in Yun Luofeng's eyes. Besides, if we want powerful doctors with the ability of the medical tower, we can also cultivate them. Not having you is nothing. Qing Mu frowned when he saw that Lin Yu's face was turning increasingly ashen, but he did not leave the medical tower. He shot a look at the guard next to him. Throw this old thing out. From now on, the medical tower will not allow him to enter. No, you can't do that. Lin Yu stumbled back. Before he could struggle, two guards grabbed his body and threw him violently out of the way. With a bang, his body slammed heavily outside the door. The residents of the West City looked around curiously. Their gazes made Lin Yu's expression turn even uglier. He dusted off his trousers and rose to his feet, glaring fiercely at the people in the medical tower. Chapter 1078. If you lose me, you'll regret it. After saying this, he left without looking back, in the Tower of Medicine. There was complete silence, so quiet that you could hear a pin drop. The crowd did not even dare to breathe too loudly as they carefully observed the situation. Since you've joined the Tower of Medicine from now on, you're all my people. Yun Luofeng raised his brows and spoke in an arrogant and domineering manner. I only have a few requests. Number 1, you must never abandon the Tower of Medicine. Number 2, you must not leak any of the medical books in the Tower of Medicine. Number 3, no matter where you go from now on, as soon as the Tower of Medicine summons you, you must rush back even if you're 1,000 miles away. Can you do this? The crowd's voices were high and rang throughout the entire Tower of Medicine. She did not make them work for the Tower of Medicine, nor did she restrict their freedom. She had only stated these 3 conditions. Alright. Yun Luofeng's dark eyes were deep and gloomy. His peerless features were curled into a smile and his tone was as domineering as ever. As long as you're willing to abide by these 3 conditions, the Tower of Medicine will not sit idly by no matter what difficulties you encounter. The crowd fell silent once again. Everyone's eyes were fixed upon Yun Luofeng without blinking. Out of all the organizations, how many would be willing to help their subordinates solve their problems? However, Yun Luofeng had made them such a promise. It was no surprise that this promise was very tempting. As a member of the Tower of Medicine, you can enjoy all the benefits of the Tower of Medicine. Of course, you must use medicinal herbs to exchange for these benefits. Furthermore, there will be an assessment every month. Those who pass the assessment can enter the next level of the Tower of Medicine. The higher the level, the more benefits you will enjoy. Lin Yu had just said that based on his power and reputation, he would certainly be one of the higher-ups of the Tower of Medicine. Actually, his words were very wrong. In the Tower of Medicine, everyone is equal and everyone has equal opportunities. I don't care how famous you were previously or how powerful you are. If you want to enter the next level, you must pass the assessment. The young girl's voice no longer had her usual languid tone, but it easily stirred everyone's hearts. She had said that everyone has equal opportunities? Does that mean that anyone has the chance to climb to the top? The Tower of Medicine's assessment does not just test your power but also your character. What right does a treacherous person like Lin Yu have to climb to the top of the medical tower? That's why I said that all of you have equal chances. She didn't care about how strong these people were before, because she had the ability to raise people with low talent. In addition, Yun Luofeng raised an eyebrow and swept his gaze over everyone. As a benefit for joining the medical tower, I will gift each of you a spirit beast. Spirit beast? These words shocked everyone. They looked at Yun Luofeng, and their breathing quickened. Just as their eyes were filled with anticipation, Yun Luofeng had already summoned the spirit beasts he had gifted them. Everyone was dumbfounded as they stared at the gold-seeking mice that covered the entire first floor of the medical tower. This is the gold-seeking rat? The gold-seeking rat's strength had always been very low. Did the pagoda master intend to give them this gold-seeking rat? No, that's not right. These gold-seeking rats are all at the heavenly spirit realm? Celestial spirit practitioner? How is this possible? Gold-seeking rats would never achieve much in their lives, so how could they become celestial spirit beings? Chapter 1079. Those who could not believe it hurriedly released their soul power, wanting to probe the strength of the gold-seeking mice. When they found the result, their expressions changed from the initial shock to shock. Are they really celestial spirit stage gold-seeking mice? Oh my god, am I dreaming? Did the Tower Master just say that he's giving us these celestial spirit stage gold-seeking mice? Everyone's breathing unconsciously tightened, their eyes filled with excitement. These gold-seeking mice are indeed spiritual beasts for you, but... Yun Luofeng paused, then continued, I'll make it clear to you in advance, other than protecting your safety, the gold-seeking mice also have another purpose, and that is to monitor you. The excited crowd quietened down at these words, and everyone looked at Yun Luofeng in confusion. The gold-seeking mice's purpose was to monitor them? Since there was such a purpose, why did Yun Luofeng say it out loud in front of them? You've all seen the things in my medical tower. If it were you, would you feel at ease giving these medical books to others? Yun Luofeng smiled faintly. As long as you don't betray the medical tower, and don't sell the medical books to others, the gold-seeking mice's surveillance will lose its effect, and can only exist to protect you. But if I find out that someone has gone back on their word... Yun Luofeng narrowed her eyes, a dangerous light flashing across her black pupils. Then I'll make you regret joining my medical tower. Boom. Yun Luofeng's hand slammed onto the table beside her. Under the force of her attack, the entire table turned into powder, which drifted into the air. Her action completely frightened the crowd. They gulped, knelt on the ground as if they had discussed it beforehand, raised their middle fingers, and made a firm vow. We will never betray the medical tower, nor will we give the medical books to outsiders. All right, I hope you can keep your promise. Yun Luofeng retracted her hand and smiled faintly. Don't challenge my temper. The consequences are not something you can bear. This was what it meant to use both kindness and power. She could give them the most precious gift, but at the same time, she would make them understand the price of betraying her. As long as they did not betray the medical tower, she would definitely protect them to the end. Once they betrayed her, she would make them fall from heaven to hell. Qin Mu, give them the token. Yun Luofeng's voice sounded slowly. Greenwood nodded and took out the token from his space ring. This is a command medallion that only our medical tower has. Right now, you're all only on the first level, so the word 1 is written on the medallion. Once you've passed the examination and entered the second level, I'll give you a new medallion, Greenwood said as he smiled. Moreover, this medallion has another effect. If you cultivate with this medallion, It will increase your cultivation speed. Only when you become stronger will our medical tower become stronger. At this moment, Yun Luofeng didn't expect that a few years later, the token of the medical tower would become the symbol of a doctor. The token on the first floor represented the identity of a grade 1 physician. If one didn't possess a grade 3 token or above, he would be too embarrassed to call himself a physician. Greenwood, come with me. Yun Luofeng said lazily as he glanced at Qing Mu after the tokens were given out. All right. After Qing Mu agreed, he saw Yun Luofeng turn around and leave. He didn't hesitate to follow. Chapter 1080. Yun Luofeng walked into the room and sat on a chair. She picked up a cup of tea and took a sip. Send someone to follow Lin Yu, he shouldn't have left the West City yet. Qing Mu was stunned. Tower Master, are you suspecting that Lin Yu is trying to harm the medical tower? Yun Luofeng shook her head. Do you think that the Wu family was the only one who sent someone after such a huge commotion at the medical tower? That's why I'm sure that Lin Yu is related to the O family. Qing Mu narrowed his eyes. The O family? Tower Master, why are you so sure that it's the O family and not the Nangong family? Yun Luofeng smiled. Because I know the young master of the Nangong family. That Nangong guy is a typical blabbermouth. If he was sent by the Nangong family, I would have heard it from him. All right. Qing Mu nodded. I'll send someone to follow Lin Yu now. The Wu family and the O family. It seemed that the commotion at the medical tower had attracted many people. Outside the West City, on a barren mountain, Lin Yu looked around nervously as if he was looking for something. Suddenly, a green figure descended from the sky and landed on the ground. When he saw the figure descending from the sky, a look of joy appeared on Lin Yu's face. Miss Shadowless, you're finally here. Shadowless looked at Lin Yu coldly. How did you do what my master asked you to do? Lin Yu lowered his head with a hint of guilt in his eyes. I'm sorry, Miss Shadowless, I wasn't able to enter the medical tower. Why? Shadowless's gaze turned even colder. I heard that as long as you want to join the medical tower, you'll definitely be able to enter. Why didn't you? This. Lin Yu wiped the sweat off his forehead. Previously, the tower master of the medical tower and I had a dispute over medical skills. At that time, I saw that she didn't know much about medical skills, so I kindly gave her some pointers. Who knew that she wouldn't appreciate it at all and even scolded me? Who would have thought that she was the tower master of the medical tower? This kind of person's medical skills can't be compared to yours. She was just lucky enough to obtain a few medical books and used them to swindle people. Lin Yu did not dare to reveal the real reason and could only add fuel to the fire, pushing all the blame onto Yun Luofeng. Otherwise, if he were to let these people know that he couldn't enter the medical tower because of his arrogance, they would definitely not let him off so easily. Follow me, my master is waiting for you. Shadowless glanced at Lin Yu coldly before turning around and walking into the depths of the dense forest. Lin Yu finally heaved a sigh of relief. If it had not been for the sake of joining them, he would not have taken the risk to enter the medical tower. Who would have thought that he would provoke Yun Luofeng before he could even enter? Lin Yu scoffed coldly. You're just a small tower of medicine, yet you dare to be so arrogant. If you lose me, it will definitely be your loss. As for me, without the medical tower, there are better forces waiting for me. Then he hurriedly chased after Shadowless. At this moment, Lin Yu was completely unaware that a figure was hiding in the forest, secretly observing everything that was happening. After they left, that person turned around and disappeared into the forest of the Dragon Swamp. After receiving the guard's report, Yun Luofeng became silent. It seems that other than the Nangong clan and the O clan, there are other forces keeping an eye on the medical tower. I wonder where these forces are from. Chapter 1081. Greenwood looked at Yun Luofeng. Tower Lord, I think that there might be spies among the doctors who have joined the medical tower. Should we find a way to lure them out? Lure them out? Yun Luofeng smirked. Don't you think that's too troublesome? Greenwood paused. If we don't lure them out, it'll be bad for the medical tower. Yun Luofeng lazily leaned back in her chair and smiled evilly. There's no need for that. If we want them to give up on the medical tower, there's a more convenient way. It's very simple, which is, make the Wu family and the O family disappear. Or make them our own. Greenwood was completely dumbfounded. Lure out the spies? So, she wanted to find out where these spies came from? In this world, apart from her, who else could say such domineering words? Greenwood subconsciously wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. Tower Lord, isn't that more troublesome? Greenwood, Yun Luofeng raised her eyes and looked at Greenwood. You must understand, if you kill one spy, another will come. The best way is to become stronger. In this mainland, where strength is everything, as long as you have enough strength, who would dare to target you? Greenwood fell silent. Yun Luofeng was right. The only way to solve this problem once and for all was to become more powerful. Spies could not be completely eliminated. Only by becoming so strong that no one dared to target the medical tower would there be no more spies. I'm tired, Yun Luofeng stretched lazily. You can leave first. Greenwood could only bitterly laugh. Perhaps he really was getting old and couldn't see things as clearly as a young man. After taking one last look at the exhausted Yun Luofeng, Greenwood turned and walked out, carefully closing the door behind him. After he left, Yun Luofeng suddenly opened her eyes. Her gaze pierced through the curtains, looking at the azure sky. Yun Xiao, wait for me. I'll use the fastest speed to become stronger, and follow in your footsteps. On another mainland, maple leaves flew wildly. Fresh blood dyed the entire forest red, forming a bright color in the midst of the falling leaves. Countless people stood in the forest, surrounding the man in the middle. This was a handsome man. His black robe fluttered in the wind. He was cold and domineering. His deep and dark eyes slowly swept past the people who surrounded him. His murderous intent was obvious. A strong gust of wind blew, filled with killing intent. The falling leaves were swept into the air and turned into countless sharp swords, instantly slashing the enemy's throat. Dead and lifeless. The expressions of a few of the elderly leaders changed drastically, and their eyes were filled with fear and dread as they looked at the man. Even so, they did not take a step back, nor were they frightened by the man's powerful aura. Ghost Monarch, you've killed so many people, you should be executed. The old man suppressed the panic in his heart and said, but since you're young and insensible, I'm willing to spare your life. Hand over the void mirror and I'll spare your life. Cough cough. Qin Yuan coughed twice and crawled up from the ground. His face was extremely weak, and when he heard the old man's shameless words, he couldn't help but sneer. He said mockingly, those people who died at my master's hands all died for the sake of the void mirror, so why can't my master kill them? Weren't you just trying to steal the treasure? How dare you say such high-sounding words? Chapter 1082. The void mirror belongs to us in the first place. He's returning it to its rightful owner. The old man scoffed. Hence, the people he killed were all innocent. He's the only sinner. Ha! Qin Yuan could not help but burst into laughter. You're the most shameless person I've ever heard in my life. What do you mean by the void mirror belongs to you? The void mirror was possessed by a powerhouse named Void 10,000 years ago. My master had accidentally entered Void's tomb and discovered the void mirror. Don't tell me that Void is your ancestor? I've heard that Void is a eunuch. The old man wiped the cold sweat off his face. His expression was extremely ugly. His eyes darted around before he said, my ancestor is indeed related to Void. Hence, you must hand the void mirror over to me. His ancestor was related to Void? How was that possible? He was only looking for a dignified reason to obtain the void mirror. Every man for himself, heaven and earth shall destroy him. Boom. Just as the old man was about to continue scaring the man, he saw the man make a move. He had not said a single word since the beginning. Perhaps these people were not worthy of his words. However, just as he raised his hand, the surrounding wind suddenly became swift and fierce. It was like a sharp blade that killed people without a trace. Panic appeared in the old man's eyes. He desperately tried to dodge the wind. However, no matter how fast he was, how could he be faster than the surrounding wind? In just a moment, everyone present was sliced into countless pieces by the sharp wind blades. Qin Yuan. The man took out a mirror from his bosom and handed it to Qin Yuan. He then said expressionlessly, "Go back to the Wuwei mainland and hand this to Feng." Qin Yuan took the void mirror and replied respectfully, "Yes, master." He knew that his master had risked his life to obtain the void mirror for the sake of the mistress. After you go, you don't need to come back. Stay by her side and protect her. As for the people who are chasing after the void mirror, I'll eliminate them all. The man's voice was cold and emotionless, but it made Qin Yuan's body tremble. This time, a storm of blood will be stirred on this continent. Anyone who knew that master had a void mirror in his hands would be eradicated by him without a single exception. Because he didn't want to put mistress's people in any danger. Qin Yuan joined his fists and took one last look at the man's cold and determined back. Then he turned and walked in another direction. Yun Xiao turned around to look in the direction that Qin Yuan had disappeared in. She then looked up at the azure sky and the corners of her cold lips curled into a shallow smile. With this void mirror, your strength will grow even faster. As for me, I will conquer this world for you, and then personally give it to you. At this moment, Yun Luofeng was completely unaware of what was happening around Yun Xiao. He also did not know that because of her, he had already become the public enemy of the entire continent. In the courtyard, maple leaves drifted down. On the rock garden, Yun Luofeng's legs swayed back and forth. Her posture was lazy and evil. She held an invitation in her hand, and the corners of her lips curled up in an inexplicable smile. "Master, why is the O family looking for you?" Lin Ruobai blinked, his eyes filled with confusion. Yun Luofeng's lips curled into a smile. "Last time, I made Oya lose face during Nangong's birthday banquet. This time, she certainly wants to get back at me. That's why she invited me to the gathering." Chapter 1083. Lin Ruobai was furious. "Master, I didn't go with you to the Nangong clan last time. This time, I must go with you to that whatever gathering. I want to see who dares to bully my master." Thinking of the treatment Yun Luofeng suffered at the birthday banquet, Lin Ruobai gritted her teeth in anger. Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes. "Since Oya wants to humiliate me, she will definitely invite Nangong to participate. So, I must take advantage of today's matter to clear Nangong's name." Lin Ruobai nodded her head forcefully. She hooked Yun Luofeng's arm and giggled, "Master, bring me along. I want to help you vent your anger." "Okay, then go and prepare. We'll leave at night." Yun Luofeng lazily stretched his back and leaned against a rock. His devilishly charming face slightly hooked into a smile. "Looks like I have to quickly settle things here before I can go out and increase my strength without worry." Nighttime. The moon was as dark as water. Beside the Huai River, on a luxurious cruise ship, the elegant and soothing sound of a zither reverberated through the entire riverbank. Inside the cruise ship, the voices of young talents could be heard from time to time. But very quickly, those voices abruptly stopped. Everyone turned to look at a man and two women who appeared at the entrance of the ship. They saw that the man was handsome and heroic, with sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes. The green robe he wore made his already young face appear even more green. However, the smile on the man's lips revealed a trace of a ruffian. He didn't look like a noble young master, but rather like a hooligan. The young girl standing next to the man was an absolute beauty. Her clothes were whiter than snow, and she was magnificent. She was so beautiful that people forgot to breathe. The scene of these two people standing together made people feel like a fresh flower stuck in cow dung. It was really a pity. Of course, there was another young girl next to the young girl in white. This young girl looked young and cute. When she smiled, her two small canine teeth were revealed. Her childish face was full of a bright smile, making people feel comfortable. "Miss Oya, these two are..." They didn't ask Nangong Uni. After all, in Endless City, who didn't know Nangong Uni's name? What made them curious was who the two young girls standing next to Nangong Uni were. However, some of the people who attended Nangong Uni's birthday banquet recognized Yun Luofeng, and their faces were filled with astonishment. Oya smiled. "Let me introduce to all of you, this lady's medical skills are extremely powerful. Even I admit that I am inferior to her." Therefore, I have gathered all of you here today to give you a chance. If any of you have any hidden injuries, this young lady will treat all of you. Oya's smile was elegant and moving. Her every frown and smile was mesmerizing. Even though Oya was not as beautiful as Nangonglan, she had a power that made people want to get close to her. Perhaps this was where her charm lay. Is what Miss Oya said true? Better than Miss Oya's medical skills? Could it be that this woman's talent was the best in Endless City? Why haven't I heard of her before? I didn't expect Miss Oya to be so dedicated to us. My body does have some hidden ailments. If I can be cured this time, it will be all thanks to Miss Oya. I will never forget it. Yun Luofeng was the doctor, but all the credit belonged to Oya. She didn't do anything and even wanted to make things difficult for Yun Luofeng. In the end, the person everyone thanked was her. Chapter 1084. Since when did my master agree to treat them? Lin Ruabai's expression changed. He scoffed coldly and spoke in a bad mood. Oya's gaze turned towards Yun Luofeng and the others. Miss Yun, these people's families all have great power in Endless City. Some of them are even lower than our 3 great families. I'm doing this to help them solve their problems, and also to let you accept this favor. If you save them, they will definitely be extremely grateful to you. In the future, it will be easier for you to do things in Endless City. These people had been specially invited by her, and some of them were suffering from extremely complicated illnesses. If Yun Luofeng was unable to cure these people, she would be able to use their mouths to humiliate her. If she could cure them, these people would definitely thank her, and from then on, they would be on the same side as the O family. As for whether Yun Luofeng would reject her, she did not care. After all, she needed to have the guts to reject the young talents of so many great families. Yun Luofeng looked at Oya. Save them and then let them thank you? Do you think that I would do such a thankless thing? A small smile appeared on Oya's face. Miss Yun, you've misunderstood me. I only want to help them because I know that your medical skills are outstanding. I don't want them to feel indebted to you. Besides, the person who has saved them is you. The one who will be indebted will definitely be you. I'm sorry, I refuse to be treated. Nangong Xiaobai, let's go. Yun Luofeng threw these words and turned to leave. Wait. Oya's expression carried a sense of anxiety. Miss Yun, what do you want to do to save them? Yun Luofeng paused in her steps. She turned around and looked at Oya with a smile. As long as I save them, will you be willing to do anything? Oya was stunned. A hint of struggle flashed across her eyes. Over the years, the relationship between the 3 great families had become more and more unharmonious. Hence, the great families had tried their best to rope in other forces and expand their power. This was also the reason why she had come this time. Hence, she must agree no matter what. Yes, I'm willing to do anything. Indeed, when they heard Oya's words, the faces of the young talents filled with gratitude. All right, Yun Luofeng raised her brows. If you marry Nangong, I'll save them. Oya's face suddenly turned pale. She was very confident in her own qualifications. If she really married Nangong Yuni, it would be equivalent to her entire life being ruined. How could she use this kind of qualifications to find an outstanding husband? She had to sell herself for the sake of the O clan. Miss Yun, can you change your conditions? Oya bit her lips. Even if you ask my O family for money, I'm willing to pay. Yun Luofeng smiled. You said before that in order to save them, you can accept any condition. Was he going back on his word now? I'm not interested in your Nangong family's treasures. I only want you to marry Nangong. No matter how rich the O clan was, they weren't as rich as she was right now. Especially, that medical tower was the most precious treasure in her hands. As long as the medical tower was established, countless medicinal ingredients would fall into her hands in the future. Those medicinal ingredients would all be sold at sky-high prices. Oya's expression grew uglier. She had never thought that Yun Luofeng would make such a request. Chapter 1085. Based on how close she was with Nangong Yuni, shouldn't she want to marry him? Why did he want to marry her for his sake? Yun Luofeng was clearly threatening Oya to marry Nangong Yuni. However, in Oya's eyes, It had become a marriage proposal. The difference between the two words was like heaven and earth. Yun Luofeng shrugged his shoulders when he saw Ya's troubled expression. I was only joking earlier. After all, with Nangong's status, you're not worthy of him. Ya's expression changed as a hint of anger appeared in her eyes. Miss Yun, what do you mean by that? She wasn't worthy of Nangong? With Nangong's identity as an illegitimate child, how could he not be worthy of him? You've seen my medical skills. Nangong is my junior, that's why I said you're not worthy of him. Nangong was indeed her junior brother. However, that was in China. Don't you all want to be healed? Yun Luofeng's evil eyes swept across the crowd, and the corners of his lips curled into an evil smile. Sure, but I'm a little busy, so I don't have time to treat you. If you need anything, you can go to the West City to look for Nangong. He will be there to prescribe medicine and diagnose your illnesses. Let's go. Yun Luofeng slowly turned around and walked out of the cabin. Lin Ruobai and Nangong Yuni followed behind her and quickly walked out. Master, are we leaving just like that? Lin Ruobai blinked and asked. Yun Luofeng declined to comment. Since we know their goal, there is no need to stay. Yun Luofeng. Nangong Yuni glanced at Yun Luofeng, his eyes filled with grief. Even if you want to push the blame away, why are you pushing it onto me? When did I ever know how to treat illnesses? Between Yun Luofeng's brows, there was confidence. I have a clear understanding of those people's conditions. I will give you the treatment method later. Nangong Yuni was dumbfounded. You're saying that in such a short period of time, you've already figured out everyone's illness? Why didn't I know you were so powerful back then? It's just that after coming to this place, I had an opportunity and accidentally improved my medical skills. Yun Luofeng shrugged his shoulders and said. Nangong Yuni's eyes were filled with envy. Why don't I have such a good opportunity? It's really infuriating to compare with others. Indeed, luck is not something that everyone has. Yun Luofeng had always admitted that luck was very important for him to be able to walk this far. If she had not picked up the Divine Book of Medicine in the library, she would have been blown to pieces in the explosion. She would not have achieved what she had today. If he had never met Yun Xiao, perhaps she had already died many times. Nangong, tomorrow, go to my place to prescribe medicine and consult patients. Within 3 days, you must cure all the patients. 3 days? Nangong Yuni was startled. Isn't that too short of a time? That's enough. Yun Luofeng lifted his head to look at Nangong Yuni. I'll give you the prescription in a moment. You have 1 night to memorize everything for me. Since there's no luck, I'll have to rely on my own efforts. Nangong Yuni fell silent. How could he not understand that Yun Luofeng was doing this for him? If he cured these young geniuses, they would definitely thank him, and the Nangong family would also have a whole new level of respect for him. Yes, there was no luck, only hard work. Moreover, he had already expressed that he had no interest in inheriting the Nangong family, but Nangong Lan still wanted to kill him. Since that was the case, he could only snatch the power of the family into his hands. Chapter 1086. Nangong, actually all these years, I've encountered many dangers and suffered many hardships. I only have one goal, to survive. She only wanted to live, that was all. Good brother. Nangong Yuni patted Yun Luofeng's shoulder and nodded firmly. I won't let you down. 1 night is enough. Seeing Nangong Yuni's determined face, Yun Luofeng smiled. I can only help you this much. You'll have to rely on yourself from now on. After all, if you rely on me, you won't be able to go far. Thank you. Nangong Yuni's face was filled with gratitude. This is enough, you've already helped me so much. Yun Luofeng, wait for me, no matter where you go in the future, I'll chase after you. Yun Luofeng looked at Nangong Yuni, turned around and said, Xiaobai, let's go. With that, she walked forward, her snow-like figure gradually disappearing from Nangong Yuni's sight. The next day. Early morning. Outside the house, countless young geniuses were looking around endlessly. They had only found out that Yun Luofeng lived here after many inquiries. As for the fact that she was the tower master of the medical tower, it had been concealed by everyone in the medical tower. Even though the residents of the West City knew that Yun Luofeng and Qing Mu were in cahoots, they didn't know that she was the tower master of the medical tower. Nangong Yuni had placed a table and chair at the entrance, calmly checking everyone's pulse. He was calm and composed, like a virtuous and respected doctor. As he explained the symptoms of those people, everyone's trust in him grew. Some of the young girls who once looked down on him now looked at him with shining eyes. Mississippi, not far away, the servant girl glared at Nangong Yuni and said angrily, "These people were obviously found by you." Mississippi Nangong Yuni actually took advantage of them. "Do you really think this is an advantage?" Oh yes, sneered. Even that Yun Luofeng couldn't diagnose so many people's illnesses without making any mistakes. Furthermore, Nangong Yuni doesn't have any medical skills. If he had such brilliant medical skills, he would have used them to pursue me long ago. Why would he hide it until now? The maidservant knitted her elegant eyebrows. "Miss means that Nangong Yuni is swindling people?" Oya let out a mocking smile before she turned around and said, "Come, we'll inform the fathers of these young geniuses now. Let them know that these people easily believed that Nangong Yuni could cure illnesses." Not long after Oya left, the parents who heard the news flew into a rage. They went forward and pulled their children away. "What are you doing? Nangong Yuni knew how to treat illnesses? Don't be ridiculous. It's more like he only knows how to visit prostitutes. How can he treat illnesses?" "Qing Ran, let's go home. Your leg has been ill for many years, and so many doctors have been unable to cure it. How can you trust Nangong Yuni? I will continue to look for famous doctors to treat you." "Son, who says it's your problem that our family doesn't have any children? It's clearly those women who are sick. Why are you treating them? Go home with father, don't embarrass yourself." "Daughter, I know that the scar on your face makes you very uncomfortable, but this kind of thing can't be cured by medicine. Let's go back. One day, I will find you a son-in-law no matter what price I have to pay." Chapter 1087. Those people simply didn't believe in Nangong Yuni's medical skills. In their eyes, it was definitely this illegitimate son's lies that caused their own child to believe his words. Nangong Yuni wasn't angry. He put away the pen and paper in his hand and smiled. "I will stay here for 3 days. Within these 3 days, if you have any problems, you can come find me for treatment. Of course, starting tomorrow, it won't just cost 10 million taels of silver. It will cost at least 30 million taels of silver." "Nangong Yuni, don't lie here. If it wasn't for the Nangong family's face, I would have smashed your stall a long time ago." A father angrily turned to Nangong Yuni and fiercely shouted. Nangong Yuni faintly smiled. "I'm afraid you will know very soon whether or not I'm a liar. When that time comes, don't come and beg me. Even if you beg me, I won't treat your son's illness." That father angrily flung his robe and forcefully dragged his son away. Among them, there were a few who had already obtained Nangong Yuni's prescription. They took advantage of the fact that their father wasn't paying attention to secretly hide and obediently followed him back home. The commotion here was very big, and it had also reached the ears of the 3 great families. At this moment in the Nangong family, Nangong Qing was sitting high up. Beside him was a beautiful woman. Needless to say, this woman was Nangong Lan's mother, Mu Qianxian. Apart from these 2 people, there was also a group of elders sitting below. Even Nangong Lan was sitting at the table. They all looked at Nangong Yuni as if they were interrogating a criminal. For a moment, the entire hall was filled with an oppressive atmosphere. Can you tell father what exactly happened? Why did you treat the children of the various families?" Nangong Qing frowned and sternly asked. This time, he was indeed very disappointed in his son. Even if he was to cause trouble, there should be a limit. Now that he had caused such a big commotion, if he offended all of these families, they would go to the other 2 families. It would be extremely disadvantageous for the Nangong family. "Didn't you see what I did? It's just treating the illness. It's not that big of a deal." Nangong Yuni shrugged his shoulders and had a mischievous smile on his face. "Patriarch." Mu Qianxian glanced at Nangong Yuni, and a sneer appeared in the depths of her eyes. Is too sensible. If we let him continue to cause trouble, he might cause trouble for our Nangong family. Patriarch, please expel him from the family. That's right. Madam is right. Patriarch, the eldest young master is too reckless. If we don't chase him out, he will definitely bring us trouble in the future. Clan head, please make your decision. The other elders echoed in agreement. It seemed like Nangong Yuni was a ticking time bomb to them, and he was too dangerous. Nangong Qing's complexion didn't look too good. He coldly glanced at Mu Qianxian, then turned his gaze towards Nangong Yuni. Do you know your mistake? Nangong Yuni sneered. I didn't do anything wrong, so why should I know? Nangong Qing's face was livid with anger. If you admit your mistake now and promise not to treat them again, I'll forgive you this time. I told you, I'm not wrong. Nangong Yuni's tone was very stubborn. He didn't do anything wrong, so why should he admit it? Guards. Nangong Qing's complexion darkened. Lock the eldest young master in his room and strictly guard him. He is not allowed to step out of his room for half a month. Towards Nangong Yuni he still showed mercy. Chapter 1088. She only had one son, how could she have the heart to expel him from the family? Mu Qianxian clenched her fists. She and Nangong Lan looked at each other and saw the murderous intent in each other's eyes. Nangong Yuni could not be allowed to live. He was a threat to their position in the future. Many years ago, after Mu Qianxian had given birth to Nangong Lan, she had accidentally damaged her body so she could no longer get pregnant. Because of this, she had poisoned all the concubines in the Nangong family so they could no longer get pregnant. Who would have thought that Nangong Yuni would appear? She had done so much, how could she be willing to give up halfway? Therefore, Nangong Yuni must die. Master, the elders still wanted to say something, but Nangong Qing had already stood up and interrupted them. This is his first time, so I will be lenient. Let him reflect on his mistakes in the next few days so he doesn't make the same mistake again. With that, Nangong Qing flung his sleeves and strode out of the hall. Mother, Nangong Lan stood up, her elegant face filled with murderous intent. Mu Qianxian hurriedly gave her a look, indicating that she should not be impatient. After all, Nangong Yuni now had two spiritual beasts protecting him. He would not be easy to deal with, they could only take their time to think. In the courtyard, sunlight shone down on a young girl's beautiful face. She lazily reclined on the chaise longue and listened to the reports of the people next to her. She raised her eyebrows and smiled. Master, Yiling paused and asked, do we need to send someone to save young Master Nangong? No need. Yun Luofeng played with his hair and said with a smile, the Nangong family will release him tomorrow. As for Nangong, no one can hurt him now, so I'm not worried. You can leave and keep an eye on the Wu family. Yes, Master. With that, Yiling cupped his fists and retreated. Just as he left, two voices came from Yun Luofeng's soul. When she heard these two voices, she hurriedly stood up from the chaise longue and the smile on her lips deepened. Master, during the time I wasn't here, did someone stupid provoke you again? This voice was very childish, but it was incomparably arrogant. I feel that anyone who provokes Master will not have a good ending. The other was elegant and noble. From her voice, one could tell that this woman was definitely graceful and noble. Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows. You're finally awake? As soon as he finished speaking, two rays of light appeared out of thin air and landed in front of Yun Luofeng. One of them was a young man with a childish smile on his handsome face. He looked to be around 14 or 15 years old, with red lips and white teeth. His skin was so tender that it seemed as if water could be squeezed out of it. The other was a peerlessly beautiful woman wearing a golden dress and a crown on her head. She was graceful, gentle, and elegant, like a high and mighty empress who ruled over the world. Master, I've finally transformed into a human. I missed you so much. The youth opened his arms and rushed towards Yun Luofeng. His two arms hooked onto Yun Luofeng's body, and his eyes shone with a golden light. The woman pursed her lips and smiled. She gazed at Yun Luofeng with a gentle gaze, noble and inviolable. Milk tea, Queen Rat. Looking at the two people in front of him, Yun Luofeng smiled wickedly. Congratulations on successfully transforming into a human. Ever since they had swallowed the fruit from the little tree, They had fallen into a deep sleep and had not woken up. Only now did they wake up after successfully transforming into a human. Chapter 1089. Once a spirit beast cultivated a human nature, its combat power would multiply. This is all thanks to Master, the Rat Queen said gently. If not for Master, we wouldn't have been able to transform into humans. You are our benefactor. We will never forget you. Without Yun Luofeng's appearance, they would have continued hiding in the forest of no return. How would they have their current lives? Compared to humans, spirit beasts were more realistic. They would use their entire lives to repay those who were good to them. Mother! A gold-seeking rat came out from the bushes. She shook her head and walked towards Milk Tea and her pet monkey. Milk Tea was stunned for a moment before recognizing the pink gold-seeking rat. Her eyes were filled with joy. Meng Meng, you can speak human language now? Meng Meng nodded shyly. Master gave me a lot of medicinal herbs. I used them to break through to the venerable realm. However, I don't have the transformation fruit, so I can't transform into a human for now. Milk Tea choked. How could he not know that Yun Luofeng did all he could to help Meng Meng improve her strength for his sake? The small tree doesn't have any extra transformation fruits. I'll wait for it to bear fruit in the future before transforming into a human for Meng Meng. Milk Tea could only marry Meng Meng after she transformed into a human. Of course, the prerequisite was that Milk Tea had to get Meng Meng. In a certain family, a man who was dealing with official business heard a scream. By the time he reacted and wanted to go out to check on the situation, his daughter had already rushed in. Father, my face, what happened to your face? The man was stunned. He looked up at his daughter's face. He was dumbfounded by what he saw. Baby, where's the scar on your face? Where did it go? How could there be any blemishes on his daughter's smooth and flat face? Not only was there no blemishes, even her skin was much better than before. Father, actually, I secretly used the prescription Nangong Uni gave me. In less than 2 hours, my scar disappeared, the girl said emotionally. God knew how many people had rolled their eyes at her over the years because of the scar on her face. Now that the scar had disappeared, how could she not be excited? The man was stunned. He stared at his daughter in shock. Are you serious? Was it Nangong Uni's prescription that caused your scars to disappear? Father, Nangong Uni's medicine is really amazing. This won't do, I have to go find little Xiao. Little Xiao went to West City with me before, but she was dragged away by her father before Nangong Uni could diagnose her. Maybe Nangong Uni can cure her baldness. After throwing these words, the woman hurriedly turned around and left, leaving the man dumbfounded on the spot. At the same time, similar situations were happening in various families. Moreover, the children of these families knew each other. Therefore, the news quickly spread to the ears of those who didn't get the consultation. When those people received the news from their companions, they were immediately excited. However, when they thought of the fact that they would have to pay double the price for the consultation, they couldn't help but blame their own fathers. But as long as they could cure the disease, it was worth it no matter how high the price was. So, those people didn't wait for daybreak before they hurriedly gathered outside Yun Luofeng's house. Their eyes were filled with hope as they stared at the road to the side. Unfortunately, they waited for Nangong Uni to arrive even before the sky brightened. They waited until the sun had set, but Nangong Uni never came. Chapter 1090. The people who were originally full of hope were now disappointed. Could it be that Nangong Uni was angry because of what happened yesterday, causing him to stop going to see the patients? Just as everyone was hesitating, a guard walked out of the house and said expressionlessly, "You don't have to wait for young Master Nangong here." The Nangong family said that he was causing trouble, so they locked him up. No matter how long you wait, it's useless. What? Hearing this, everyone became anxious. If Nangong Uni was locked up, then who would be able to treat their illnesses? Suddenly, those people seemed to have thought of something and turned to look at the guard. You don't have to look at me. My master doesn't treat people easily. If you want to be treated, you'd better look for young Master Nangong. After all, young Master Nangong's fees are very unreasonable. My master charges at least 50 million taels of silver for each treatment. The crowd sighed in disappointment. Now, It seemed that they could only entrust their hopes to Nangong Uni. Come, let's go home and find our father to plead for young Master Nangong. Young Master Nangong's medical skills are so high, and he's also hidden. The Nangong family actually locked him up. That's right. Even if our family's power is inferior to the Nangong family, the Nangong family still needs to give us face and let Nangong Uni go. No matter what, we can't let young Master Nangong suffer such injustice. Everyone seemed to have made up their minds and hurriedly rushed in the direction of their families. If the elders of the families didn't believe in Nangong Uni at the beginning, then after seeing so many people's illnesses getting better, they couldn't help but feel that it was a miracle. Thus, this time, they allowed their children to go find Nangong Uni for treatment. But their children left for a day and only returned in the evening. Moreover, they didn't show any joy. Instead, their faces were full of anxiety. After asking, they found out that Nangong Uni was locked up. How could this be? In an instant, the various family heads hurriedly rushed towards the Nangong family. Their speed was so fast that it made people gasp in amazement. Nangong family. The various family heads and Nangong Qing were discussing in the meeting hall. The topic of discussion was the hedonistic Nangong Uni. Suddenly, a hurried voice came from outside the door and into the meeting hall. Family head, all the family heads are here to see you. Look. One of the elders sneered, his face full of ridicule. It must be that there's something wrong with the prescription that eldest young master gave them, so they came to settle the score with eldest young master. Pumph. Nangong Qing coldly snorted, if they want to come, then so be it. Do you think I, Nangong Qing, am afraid of these people? The elder sneered, these clans aren't a match for the Nangong clan even if they join hands. But things will be different if they join the Wu clan or the O clan. After all, there are so many clans in Endless City, and everyone wants to rope them in. The balance between the three families would also be broken because of this. Nangong Qing was also aware of this point. His expression was not very good. As for the specifics, let's wait until we meet the patriarchs of the various families. If something really happens, we will have to compensate them no matter how much it is. Patriarch, I really don't understand you. Is it worth it for the eldest young master? Miss was so outstanding and could totally support the entire Nangong family. Big young master was just a prodigal. Why did he have to put in so much effort for him? In my opinion, we should just give him to those people. Hearing the elder's voice, Nangong Qing clenched his fist tightly. Chapter 1091. He had always valued men over women, so how could he be willing to hand the Nangong family over to Nangong Lan? Nangong Lan was going to get married sooner or later. If he gave it to her, wouldn't it be the same as giving it to an outsider? I will make my own decisions on these matters. You don't have to say anything. Nangong Qing glanced at the elders and walked out of the meeting hall. In the hall, the patriarchs of the various families were anxiously pacing back and forth. When they saw Nangong Qing leading a group of people, their eyes lit up and they hurriedly went forward to welcome him. Family head Nangong, are we here to look for the young master? I wonder if he's here? Nangong Qing opened his mouth to speak, but he was interrupted by the elder who followed closely behind. Patriarch, why don't you hand the eldest young master over to them? Why do you have to lose money for the eldest young master? Everyone, the Nangong family's elder council has unanimously decided to expel the eldest young master from the family. Nangong Qing's expression changed. He turned around and said malevolently, who gave you such authority? Patriarch, we are all thinking for the Nangong family. Naturally, we don't want the Nangong family to lose money. The elder sneered and turned to the various patriarchs in the hall. Nangong Uni is no longer a member of our Nangong family. You can do whatever you want to him, we won't interfere. Nangong Qing's expression became more and more unsightly as he clenched his fists tightly. The patriarchs looked at each other in dismay, like monks scratching their heads, their faces full of doubt. Hand the young master over to us? What did that mean? Why do I not understand? Why do you want to expel young master from the family? The elder was startled and asked, didn't you come to settle the score with eldest young master because of the problem with his prescription? Settle accounts? Why do we have to settle accounts with young master? One of the patriarchs looked at the elder doubtfully before turning his gaze to Nangong Qing. Patriarch Nangong, it's like this. Young master's prescription is simply too miraculous. My good friend's daughter originally had a scar on her face, but in less than 2 hours after taking that medicine, the scar was completely healed. Today, my daughter specially went to the West City to wait for the entire day, but she didn't see young master. Thus, she specially came to the Nangong family to beg young master to come out and treat her illness. Not to mention those elders who ridiculed him, even Nangong Qing was dumbfounded. Does Nangong Uni really know how to treat illnesses? Why didn't he, as her father, know about this? That's right, we came here to ask young master Nangong to treat us. We sincerely request family head Nangong to let young master come out and treat us. My son's body is fine, but I often feel weak. Thus, after hearing of young master's strength, I rushed over to seek medical advice. As long as young master is willing to save me, not to mention 30 million, I'm willing to fork out 50 million. Nangong Qing was dumbfounded. He looked at the excited patriarchs and asked hesitantly, "Did you just say that it can cure all of your illnesses?" "That's right. It's precisely because your young master has cured many people that we came to him for treatment. I hope that the Nangong family head can understand your young master." It was like being struck by lightning. The faces of the Nangong family's elders froze. These people's words were like a ruthless slap to their faces, echoing in waves. Nangong Lan, who was rushing over, also heard their conversation. Her elegant and peerless face turned pale, and she could not help but take a few steps back. Did Nangong Uni really know how to treat people? Since when did he have such an ability? Chapter 1092. Nangong Qing recovered from his shock, and his face was filled with joy. To him, this was undoubtedly a pleasant surprise. He had always thought that his son was a useless person, but he didn't expect him to have such extraordinary talent. "Someone, invite the eldest young master here." Nangong Qing cleared his throat, coughed twice, and said refreshingly, "Everyone, please sit down and have a cup of tea. I will let her treat all of you in a moment." His expression was very spirited. Ever since Nangong Uni returned to the Nangong family, he had never raised his head high again. Nangong Lan looked at the smiling Nangong Qing, gritted her teeth, turned around and walked out. The moment she turned around, the killing intent in her eyes could no longer be hidden and surged out violently. In Endless City, the news of many family heads heading to the Nangong family to find Nangong Uni to treat his illness spread like a hurricane, causing a huge uproar in Endless City. When this news spread to the O family, Ya's expression quickly changed, but quickly returned to normal. "Miss," the servant girl beside her was indignant, "you were the one who gathered those people, but now that brat Nangong Uni has it easy. This servant feels unjust for you." Ya slightly narrowed her eyes, and the corner of her lips raised into an elegant arc. "I didn't expect Nangong Uni to actually have medical skills?" "Miss, you can't be." The servant girl was startled, and carefully looked at Oya. Oya raised her eyebrows, and the smile on her face became even wider. "You're thinking too much. Even if Nangong Uni has medical skills, I won't have any interest in him. If I marry him, it will definitely bring shame to my father." The servant girl heaved a sigh of relief, and giggled in agreement. "That's true. Even if Nangong Uni has medical skills, he can't change the fact that he's a bastard. Miss is so outstanding, the person you marry will definitely be a dragon among men. How can Nangong Uni be worthy of you?" Oya declined to comment. In her heart, the difference between her and Nangong Uni's status was too great. How could he be worthy of her? If this Nangong Uni wasn't a bastard son, perhaps I would consider it. Unfortunately, his identity is destined to have no fate with me. Oya sighed. Her voice was filled with regret. All of this was because of Nangong Uni's mother. If it wasn't for that woman having an affair, how could Nangong Uni have ended up like this? It was impossible for her to reject him. "Mississippi Old Master is looking for you." Suddenly, a maidservant quickly ran over and reported while panting. Hearing the maidservant's words, Ya's expression changed and she slowly stood up. "Father is looking for me?" Why is he looking for me? At this thought, Oya raised her brows and said to the servant girl before her, I understand. With that, she walked towards the study. In the study, the middle-aged man stood with his hands behind his back. When he heard the sound of the door opening, he turned his head. His gaze landed on the elegant woman who was slowly walking in, and his tone gradually softened. You've come? Oya smiled and said in a respectful tone, Father, why did you ask me to come? The middle-aged man nodded. You've probably heard about Nangong Yuni's matter. I didn't expect this illegitimate son to be so secretive. Perhaps we've all misjudged him. Oh yes, you mentioned that the woman who was in the limelight at Nangong Yuni's birthday, have you sent anyone to investigate her? Oya narrowed her eyes slightly, and a cold light flashed across them. That woman claimed to be Nangong Yuni Sr., but I'm not sure of her exact identity. If Father wants to know her identity, I can send someone to investigate. Chapter 1093. I have a feeling that this woman isn't simple. The middle-aged man's lips curled into a cold smile. Of course, if we can use her, we won't mistreat her. If not, we'll just kill her. Oya raised her eyes in surprise. Even though she didn't like Yun Luofeng, she had never thought of killing her. But her father wanted to take her life? The middle-aged man's tone softened when he saw the surprise in Oya's eyes. Recently, Endless City hasn't been peaceful, especially with the emergence of a force called the Medical Tower. I still haven't figured out the true strength of this force, especially the Tower Master. She's elusive. Apart from knowing that she's a woman, I don't know anything else. I don't even know how old she is. So, the middle-aged man paused for a moment before continuing, I can't let the Medical Tower's power continue to expand. Since the woman you're talking about has such powerful medical skills, she can't be won over by the Medical Tower. Oya was silent for a moment. Then she raised her head and asked, what if she already belongs to the Medical Tower? The middle-aged man smiled. His face was full of confidence. Then we'll use more generous benefits to win her over. I don't believe that the Medical Tower can snatch someone from our family. By the way, I heard that there are a few elders in the Medical Tower who are quite strong. You should also think of a way to win them over. Without these overseeing elders, the Medical Tower is nothing but an empty shell. The middle-aged man didn't expect that the person he wanted to poach was the Tower Master of the Medical Tower. When he found out about this, he realized what a mistake he had made. His father. Oya's face darkened. When she thought that the person she was trying to rope in was someone she hated, she felt very unhappy in her heart. But for the O family, she had to put aside her personal grudges. Even if she didn't like Yun Luofeng, she had to do everything she could to win her over. West City. Inside the courtyard, Yun Luofeng was lazily lying on the chaise longue. Her eyes were covered by 2 green leaves as she basked in the sun. Milk Tea obediently let her legs down, and the smile on her face was very flattering. Suddenly, an unfamiliar aura came from the front, causing Yun Luofeng to lift his hand and lift the green leaves covering his eyes. A lazy smile appeared on his face as he looked at Oya, who was walking over. At that moment, there was an old man beside Oya. The old man sized up Yun Luofeng's courtyard with disdain in his eyes. Even when walking, he had to lift his feet for fear of dirtying his shoes. Are you here to thank me? Yun Luofeng stretched lazily. However, you're thanking the wrong person. If you want to thank someone, you should be looking for Nangong Yuni. After all, he's helped you solve so many patients. Oya's expression sunk. She had painstakingly worked so hard for Nangong Yuni's dowry. This caused her to feel very unwilling in her heart. However, no matter how furious she was, she still endured it. Miss Yun, I've come to look for you this time because I have something to discuss with you. A smile appeared on her face. I admire your abilities. I wonder if you'd be willing to become a guest elder of the O family? Yun Luofeng raised her brows. She had long known about Oya's background. Nangong Yuni's display of skill would certainly make many people's gazes linger on her. Chapter 1094. Therefore, she was fully prepared for this. Are you trying to rope me in? She smiled. Her smile was extremely beautiful. Oya had to admit that this woman was indeed beautiful. She was breathtakingly beautiful. Even Nangong Lan was not as beautiful as her. Miss Yun, I truly admire your abilities. After all, for a genius like you to stay here, it's simply too unfair for you. Oya's words were very sincere as she looked at Yun Luofeng without blinking. Yun Luofeng's smile was evil and lazy. His black eyes were deep and dark as if they were bottomless. Unfortunately, the O family is not qualified to rope you in. In other words, even if the O family admired her abilities, she didn't think much of the O family. Milk Tea, see the guest out. Yes, master. Milk Tea straightened her body and looked at Oya. The expression on her little face became very impatient. My master already asked you to leave. Did you not hear her? Hurry up and get lost. Oya's expression changed. She thought that Yun Luofeng would be persuaded if she came personally. Who knew that these people would be so uncultured? The old man snorted and stared coldly at Yun Luofeng. My miss came personally to invite you. That's because she thinks highly of you. Don't be ungrateful. What benefits did the medical tower give you? The O family can double it. As long as you work hard for the O family, you won't be lacking in benefits. Oya followed up after the old man and said, Miss Yun, many doctors have come to Endless City for the sake of joining the medical tower. Therefore, I'm guessing that you've rejected me because you've joined the medical tower. However, it doesn't matter, my O family can wait for you. Just like what Elder O Lin has said, as long as you join the O family, my O family will give you double the benefits that the medical tower has given you. Yun Luofeng was startled. His evil eyes flashed with astonishment. The other people in the courtyard raised their heads and stared at Oya in shock. Was this woman stupid? The medical tower was established by their master. How could she say that she would be given double the benefits? Of course, in Oya's eyes, these people were shocked by the double benefits. Miss Yun, even if you don't think about yourself, you should think about the people in your family. If you join the O clan, you can read any medicinal herbs or medical books as you please. If you have any other requests, feel free to mention them. Yun Luofeng's body lazily dripped down, the corners of her lips raised into a devilish smile. She narrowed her eyes and looked at Oya with a smile that was not a smile. What if I want the entire O family? At this moment, Oya's expression had completely darkened. She clenched her fists tightly and her expression was extremely ugly. Miss Yun, aren't you asking for too much? Apart from the O clan, you can ask for anything else. Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows, and his evil eyes swept over Oya. Sorry, I don't like the O clan. If it wasn't for Oya's extraordinary willpower, she would have been driven mad by Yun Luofeng's words. She really didn't know where this woman's sense of superiority came from. How could she not put the O clan in her eyes? Lass, don't push your luck. O Lin's complexion sank, and anger faintly seeped out from the bottom of his eyes. Our O clan's influence is so great that even 10 medical towers can't compare to it. Yet, you still don't put the O clan in your eyes? Could it be that what the O clan can give you isn't comparable to the newly established medical tower? Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows. These two are disturbing my peaceful cultivation. If they don't want to leave, throw them out. Chapter 1095. Yes, Milk Tea responded, then turned to look at the people in front of her. Hey, aren't you leaving yet? I've never seen such a shameless person in my life. My master has asked you to leave a few times already, but you still dare to stay here. Aurin frowned and said impatiently, a little kid dares to be so rude in front of me. Hurry up and get lost. Adults don't have the right to butt in. In Aurin's eyes, Milk Tea was so respectful towards Yun Luofeng, so he must be her boy toy. Talking to a boy toy and even sullying herself. Milk Tea's eyes were filled with anger. A strong wind suddenly rose, and his frail body stood in the wind, looking even thinner. Get lost. Suddenly, Milk Tea opened its mouth and let out a loud shout. In that instant, Aurin's face suddenly paled, as if he had received a heavy blow to his chest. He took a few steps back. Aurin was a low-level venerable realm, so he didn't suffer any injuries. Oya, on the other hand, did not fare as well. Her body flew up and shot out, crashing into the crowd with a loud thud. In the entire Endless City, There were many people who knew Oya. Now that they saw her fly out from the courtyard, they unconsciously surrounded her, pointing at her and discussing in low voices. "Isn't that O family's young lady? Why is she here? I heard that Nangong Uni recently lost interest in O family's young lady and instead fell in love with the owner of this residence. Could it be that O family's young lady is here to settle the score? That can't be. I heard that O family's young lady has always been dismissive of Nangong Uni. You don't understand. It's her business that she doesn't like Nangong Uni, but it doesn't mean that she can bear to let the man chasing after her fall in love with someone else." Hearing these people's discussions, Oya was so angry that she almost vomited blood. At this time, Milk Tea stood out and spat at her on the ground. "You little slut. Back then, you didn't want Nangong Uni. Now, just because young Master Nangong is a little close to my master, you're forcing my master to break off relations." Milk Tea spoke agitatedly as if this was really the case. "Everyone, this O clan's young lady is too vicious. She came to my master and said that if my master doesn't break off relations with young Master Nangong, she will kill my master. This young lady of the O clan is too shameless." Oya angrily shouted, "Don't talk nonsense. When did I come here for Nangong Uni?" Milk Tea chuckled. "Then why did you come to find my master?" Oya fell silent when she heard that. Was she going to say that she was here to poach him? And it failed? Thrown out? The O clan would become a laughingstock if this matter were to spread out. At the thought of this, Oya gritted her teeth and kept quiet. But at this moment, her sharp eyes caught a glimpse of Nangong Uni in the crowd. A trace of joy flashed through her eyes, and she hurriedly said, "Young Master Nangong, please come out and explain things to me. The situation isn't like what they say." In an instant, everyone's eyes gathered on Nangong Uni. Nangong Uni's face was bewildered. He didn't know what was going on. He rubbed the back of his head and said, "I came to find Yun Luofeng. What are you all doing here? Alright Oya, why are you lying on the ground? Could it be that you went to find trouble with Yun Luofeng and got beaten up by her?" Chapter 1096. Oya's expression darkened. "Nangong Uni, I came to find Miss Yun to discuss something. Moreover, I accidentally tripped just now. It has nothing to do with you, and I can't possibly find Miss Yun for you." Nangong Uni was like a monk scratching his head. He clearly didn't know what Oya meant. Milk Tea glared at Nangong Uni in warning. "What kind of taste do you have? You actually fancy this kind of woman." This. Nangong Uni rubbed the back of his head and laughed awkwardly. "She looks more like my ex-girlfriend, so I couldn't help but cling onto her. Now that I'm clear-headed, I also understand that the two of them aren't the same person." Oya's expression became more and more unsightly. Her tightly clenched fists made cracking sounds. Nangong Uni chased after her because he thought she was another woman? How could Oya, who had always been arrogant, endure this? "Nangong Uni, I hope you don't regret your words today." Oya climbed up from the ground and fiercely flung her sleeves. "Elder O Lin, let's go." O Lin coldly swept his gaze over Nangong Uni and Milk Tea, snorted, and arrogantly left. These people weren't willing to join the O clan, so in the future, the O clan would only make them unworthy. Even though Oya had already left, her actions in Western City still spread. Not long after, the entire Endless City knew that she went to find trouble with another woman for Nangong Uni. For a moment, the residents of Endless City secretly criticized her, causing her reputation to plummet. At the same time, the people of the various clans didn't want to be outdone, and used all their strength to poach the medical tower's elders. After knowing what these people had done, Yun Luofeng said that those who came to present gifts could leave the gifts. As for whether the elders were willing to meet them, that was their problem. Hearing this, those who came to present gifts left with smiles on their faces. To them, as long as the elders accepted the gifts, they had hope. Unfortunately, the greater the hope, the greater the disappointment. Some forces were about to go bankrupt from giving gifts. They didn't even get to meet the elders, so how could they talk about poaching them? Compared to them, the elders' hands were about to go numb from receiving gifts. They looked at the gifts piled up in the elders' room and stared at Yun Luofeng with resentment. Pagoda Master, The people who send gifts will break the threshold of the medical tower. It doesn't seem good for us to accept the gifts, right? Yun Luofeng looked around the room full of gifts. He gently stroked his chin and said with a smile, "When they brought the gifts, did they say they wanted to see you? Since they didn't ask for anything, why shouldn't I accept them?" The elders looked at each other. Even if these people didn't say anything, the purpose of giving gifts would be very clear. If it wasn't to meet the elders, why would they go through so much trouble to give gifts? But because they didn't say anything, Yun Luofeng had a handle on them. Thinking of this, the crowd could not help but break out in cold sweat for the families that had been targeted. Who asked them to poach someone's woman? Why did they have to come to Yun Luofeng to poach people? Wasn't that waiting to be scammed? Those who came to present gifts, accept as much as they give. No need to be polite. If you feel that you can't put down these gifts, you can give them to the people below. Yun Luofeng raised the corner of his lips. I believe that after accepting these gifts, the people below will work even harder. Chapter 1097. The corners of Greenwood's mouth twitched. Yun Luofeng's plan was quite good. Using someone else's gift to sell favors, if those people found out, their intestines would definitely turn green. Greenwood, Guyang, Yun Luofeng looked at the two old men in front of him and raised his eyebrows. Now that the medical tower's power is growing, it's time for me to unify Endless City. Unify Endless City? All the elders looked at Yun Luofeng in astonishment. Her goal was to unify Endless City? Greenwood hesitated. Tower Lord, the three great families' most powerful experts have all broken through to the Holy Spirit stage. I'm afraid it won't be so easy to unify Endless City. In this world, there's nothing that's impossible. So what if it's difficult? Since I, Yun Luofeng, have said it, I'll definitely do it. At this moment, the young girl straightened her back and her hair flew in the wind, looking absolutely beautiful. Her words were filled with confidence, causing everyone's hearts to involuntarily tremble. Greenwood, send an invitation to the three great families and invite them to the medical tower. Tower Lord, what do you want to do? Greenwood asked in confusion. Yun Luofeng smiled wickedly. You'll know when the time comes. Looks like the medical tower is going to do something big. Within the Nangong family, after receiving the invitation, Nangong Qing tightly gripped the invitation in his hands, a look of deep thought on his face. I wonder what the medical tower wants to do by inviting our Nangong family? To establish our might? Master, it said that the medical tower's Tower Lord is mysterious and unfathomable. Perhaps it's time for us to investigate her. This time, many families have gone to the medical tower to poach people. They must have angered the medical tower, causing them to send an invitation. All the elders chimed in one after another, intensely discussing it. Nangong Qing remained expressionless, but his tightly furrowed brows carried a trace of worry. After a while, he relaxed his brows. Go inform the young master and young Mississippi. When the time comes, the two of them will come with me. Yes, master. The guard next to him immediately echoed, cupped his fists respectfully, and retreated. Nangong Qing placed the invitation on the table, his eyes filled with a mysterious light. I really want to know the expressions of the O and Wu clans after they receive the invitation. At this moment, in the O clan, the middle-aged man fiercely smashed the invitation in his hand on the table. His complexion was ashen as he angrily said, "What does the Tower Lord of the Medical Tower mean? He came to the Endless City and didn't even pay a visit to our O clan. Instead, he sent such an invitation. Especially the content of this invitation, it's simply intolerable." Oh, you didn't say anything. She bent down and picked up the post. There were a few lines of golden words written on the post. At noon, the medical tower invites everyone to come. If you do not attend, someone from the medical tower will personally come to invite you. If you still insist on not going, my medical tower can only use force. What do you mean by force? This was obviously a blatant threat. Father. A cold light flashed across Oya's eyes and she laughed silently. I find this medical tower very interesting. Why don't we make a trip there? I want to see with my own eyes what kind of person the tower master of this medical tower is. The middle-aged man sneered. There's no one who can threaten my O clan. Even a medical tower dares to be so savage. This is intolerable bullying. I won't swallow this insult. Once he arrives at the medical tower, he will fiercely vent his resentment. He will make those people understand that they can provoke anyone but the O clan. Chapter 1098. At the same time, a storm was stirring in the Wu family. Master Wu sat upright in the luxurious and exquisite hall with a stern expression on his face. He looked around at the crowd and asked in a deep voice, "What do you think of the medical tower's actions?" The medical tower's actions had affected the situation in Endless City. Perhaps the arrival of the medical tower would also break the balance of power between the three powers. This was something he did not wish to see happen. "Master, I think we should accept the medical tower's invitation first and meet the medical tower's tower master to see what he wants." A gloomy look flashed across the Wu family's elder's eyes and he smiled eerily. "Besides, we can also take this opportunity to investigate the medical tower's power. Know yourself and know your enemy, and you will always be victorious." Master Wu slammed the table and stood up. "Alright, go and get ready. I will head to the medical tower in a moment." West City. Compared to the other districts, it was quite run down and desolate. Even the people from other forces were unwilling to step into this place, let alone the nobles of the three big clans. However, West City was particularly lively now. Not only were there countless experts who had come to seek medical advice, but even the people from the three big clans had also arrived in carriages. Especially since the clan leaders of the three big clans had come. Therefore, the entire West City was shocked. Countless commoners had come out to watch and curiously looked at the luxurious carriages driving on the road. Unfortunately, these nobles had always been domineering. When they saw that these commoners had actually dared to watch from the side, they immediately flew into a rage. A guard stepped out and pointed at a young girl standing in the middle of the road. He shouted in a stern voice, "Can't you see that the O family is here? How dare you block the way in the middle of the road? Get lost." The young girl was about 3 or 4 years old and she was holding a lollipop in her hand. When she heard the guard's angry shout, her little red face was filled with confusion. She clearly did not understand what the guard meant. The guard scoffed coldly. "I have already warned you. You're courting death." The carriage driver did not stop because of the young girl standing in front of him. Instead, he sped up and rushed over. The young girl blinked her big bright eyes and looked curiously at the rushing carriage. Perhaps she had never seen such a luxurious carriage in her life. "Watch out!" The crowd screamed in fear when they saw that the carriage was about to reach the little girl. The little girl's parents, who were selling candied fruits, subconsciously turned their heads when they heard the crowd screams. Then, they saw a scene that made his heart beat faster. He wanted to rush over to save his daughter, but it was too late. He could only watch helplessly as the carriage rushed over to her. Bang! Just as the carriage was about to break through the little girl's body, a sharp sword light slashed down from the sky, striking the carriage's cabin. With a single slash, the carriage's cabin was split into two. "Who dares to sneak attack my O clan?" A middle-aged man dressed in brocade robes walked out from the carriage. His figure was in a rather sorry state, but he did not lose his imposing manner. His gaze, which was as sharp as a knife, stared straight at the man and woman who had walked out from behind the little girl. The man was handsome and cold. His gaze was piercingly cold. He held a long sword in his hand and his cold gaze landed on the middle-aged man. Chapter 1099. The woman standing next to her had a delicate and pretty appearance. Her expressive eyes shone brightly as she looked at the middle-aged man. She then turned around and walked towards the little girl who was sprawled on the ground in fear. "Are you all right?" She gently helped the little girl up from the ground. Her clear and melodious voice miraculously soothed the little girl's frightened heart. "Yuana!" The little girl's parents hurriedly ran over. Their faces were pale and they had yet to recover from their fright. When they saw that their daughter was safe and sound, they turned towards the green-robed woman and knelt down gratefully. "Thank you, miss, for saving my daughter." The woman smiled. "I'm sorry. Because of our medical tower, we've brought you trouble. If we hadn't invited these people, your daughter wouldn't have been in danger. So, saving you is what I should do." She then slowly turned around and walked to the side of the handsome man. Her clear and melodious voice gradually took on a strong tone. My young lady has ordered that anyone who enters the West City must walk. The O family's master's expression changed and a fierce look flashed in his eyes. What does the medical tower mean by this? How dare you order us to walk into the West City? You've all seen it for yourself. Because of your rampage, you've nearly harmed an innocent little girl. Therefore, if you continue to drive the carriages, you're not allowed to step into the West City. We must be responsible for the safety of the commoners in the West City. A show of strength? The O family's master narrowed his eyes and a murderous intent flickered in them. The medical tower had given them a show of strength as soon as they arrived. Impudent! The O family's bodyguard saw Qin Yan's rude words and immediately shouted angrily, "You're only a dog of the medical tower. What right do you have to speak to my master like that? Besides, the lives of these lowly commoners aren't worth mentioning. So what if they die? At worst, we'll just have to compensate them with a few gold coins." Qin Yan's heart was filled with rage. She snorted coldly and said expressionlessly, "My young lady's orders must be carried out. If you dare to step forward, I won't let you take another step forward." Just as Qin Yan had spoken, countless gold-seeking mice swarmed into the street from all directions. The gold-seeking mice squeaked as they stared vigilantly at the people from the big families. "Milk tea, Rat Empress, if anyone dares to take a step forward with the carriage, kill them without mercy." While everyone was stunned, they saw two people walking over from the back of the gold-seeking rats. Amongst these two people, one of them was a youth that still had a childish air. His figure was tall and slender, and he had red lips and white teeth, causing others to be unable to part with him at first sight. The other person was a graceful and luxurious imperial concubine. Her aura was so imposing that even the Empress of the Empire would not be able to tolerate her. She was noble and arrogant, a motherly model of the world. No, that's not right. There's something wrong with the aura of these two people. The O clan's clan master was the first to regain his senses. His complexion turned extremely unsightly. They're spirit beasts. Milk Tea and his subordinates were not like fire. Fire could control his own chi at any time. No matter how strong a person was, he would not be able to sense their identity. However, the two of them hadn't been in human form for long, so they hadn't learned how to stop their auras from leaking out. As a result, it was very easy for powerhouses to see through them. Spirit beast? How could this be? Are these two spiritual beasts? And these gold-seeking rats? Heavens, their strength is actually above that of a celestial spirit practitioner. Are they still gold-seeking rats? Chapter 1100. Everyone knew that gold-seeking mice would never achieve much even if they spent their entire lives. However, what they saw today had completely overturned their understanding. The members of the Nangong family were the first to alight from their carriages and slowly walked towards Yi Ling and Qin Yan. However, at this moment, no one noticed that after Nangong Uni saw Qin Yan and the others, he was already completely stunned. Others may not recognize Qin Yan and the others, but he, who often visited Yun Luofeng, must have seen them before. Nangong Uni slapped his head fiercely as he looked at Qin Yan and the others in astonishment. He did not understand why these people were here. Could it be that Yun Luofeng was related to the medical tower? "Young lady, please lead the way." Nangong Qing's face lit up with a smile. Although he was very dissatisfied with the medical tower's actions, it would not be a wise choice to refuse them now. Everything should be done with the overall situation in mind. Also, Qin Yan smiled and continued, "Our young lady has ordered that everyone else must wait outside, except for the masters and young ladies of the major families." The complexion of the O clan's clan lord changed. "Don't go too far." Qin Yan glanced at him and smiled faintly. "What? Could it be that the O clan's clan lord thinks that our medical tower will harm you? Moreover, if we really wanted to harm you, how could these guards stop us? However, our medical tower is too small and can't accommodate so many people. We can only make them wait outside." "Father." Seeing that Master O was about to explode, Oya hurriedly pulled his sleeve and whispered, "It's useless to bring these guards along. Why don't we leave them here? Besides, I'm sure that the medical tower will not harm us. Master O scoffed coldly as his narrowed eyes flashed with a cold light. The medical tower will regret today's decision. Let's go. He fiercely flung his sleeves and walked into the western city. Father, mother. After the O family had left, the little girl's confused face finally showed some reaction. Her childish voice slowly rang out in the quiet street. The people of the medical tower are so impressive. When I grow up, I want to join the medical tower. A seed had already been planted in this little girl's heart, and she had been working hard towards this goal for the next 10 years. It was also because of this sudden incident that her life had changed. The medical tower was eerily quiet. Everyone was engrossed in their work, and no one even went to greet the people from the three families. Finally, the people from the three great clans could not help but ask, "We've been here for almost 16 hours. When will your pavilion master come out?" "Just wait." The young man replied without raising his head, "Do you think our pagoda master is as free as you? Once the pagoda master is done with his work, he will come to see you." The O clan's master's complexion sank once again. But it wasn't good for him to lose his temper. So he could only tightly hold the chair's handle in order to vent his anger. Time passed by slowly, and the O clan's master's patience had been worn out. He heavily slammed his palm on the table with a bang and shouted in a cold and angry voice, "Tell your tower master to come see me immediately." Unfortunately, no one paid any attention to him. Everyone buried their heads in their work, not even sparing him a glance. Patriarch Wu and Nangong Qing's expressions were also not very good. They were the patriarchs of the three great clans, yet this medical tower dared to put on such airs and make them wait here. Chapter 1101. Only Nangong Yuni leisurely tasted the tea in his hand. From time to time, he would glance at the few people who were about to flip out. The corners of his mouth could not help but curl into a smile. These old fellows have always been tyrannical in Endless City. They should be humiliated. However, the tower master of the medical tower behaves like Yun Luofeng. Thinking of Qing Yan and the others, Nangong Yuni slightly narrowed his eyes. A light flashed in his eyes and he silently smiled. At this moment, he really wanted to meet the tower master of the medical tower to confirm his suspicions. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps was heard from the stairs. Everyone looked in the direction of the sound. Suddenly, a beautiful figure appeared in front of everyone. The young girl's clothes were whiter than snow. She was devastatingly beautiful. The corners of her lips were slightly raised into a lazy smile. Her gloomy black eyes slowly swept across everyone present. "So, you really are from the medical tower." Oya slowly got up and her elegant gaze fell on Yun Luofeng. "It's good that you're here. Please help me pass a message to the tower master of the medical tower. I hope that he will come to see us." From the beginning, Oya had never connected Yun Luofeng's identity with the medical tower. Even though they had heard that the tower master of the medical tower was a young woman. However, Yun Luofeng was ridiculously young. How could he have achieved so much at such a young age? "Is she the woman you were talking about?" Patriarch O coldly glanced at Yun Luofeng and sneered. "I know the truth. The medical tower gave her some conditions to make her reject our O family's invitation. Perhaps she doesn't know that her refusal has cost her an opportunity to enter the sunshine." In an instant, the people of the medical tower, who had been working hard, turned their gazes towards Patriarch O. The emotions in their eyes were very complicated. Sympathy, ridicule, or perhaps pity. Patriarch O felt their gazes and his expression became even more unsightly. He coldly stared at Yun Luofeng. "What are you still standing there for? Hurry up and help us call the tower master of the medical tower. Could it be that she wants so many of us to wait here for her alone?" Yun Luofeng seemed to not have heard him and walked down the stairs. Her footsteps were very light, but each step heavily landed on everyone's hearts. The O clan's anger soared to the heavens. "Didn't you hear what I said? The people of this medical tower were really lazy and ill-mannered. Only the medical tower would accept people like you. My O clan won't accept you even if your medical skills are brilliant." A murderous intent flashed across his eyes. Just as he had said to Oya, He would have no choice but to eradicate Yun Luofeng if she wasn't willing to join the O clan. At this moment, the gazes of the people from the medical tower had changed from the initial sympathy to cold mockery. Idiot! In the end, a young man couldn't control himself and coldly spat out these two words. The O clan's master slammed his hand on the table again and angrily said, "Is this how the medical tower treats its guests?" Even some servants dared to offend their superiors. He would have been killed if this had happened in my O clan. No one paid attention to the O clan master. They all turned to Yun Luofeng and respectfully said, "Welcome, Tower Master." What? Pagoda Master? The O clan's master's complexion changed from anger to shock. Then, it turned deathly pale as he stared at Yun Luofeng in astonishment. Is she the Tower Master of the medical tower? Impossible. Chapter 1102. This was impossible. There must be a mistake somewhere. How could the Tower Master of the medical tower be so young? Yun Luofeng. Oya quickly stood up and clenched her fists tightly. You're the Tower Master of the medical tower? Why didn't you tell me before? Are you purposely making fun of me? Yun Luofeng's evil eyes swept over Oya. The corners of her lips curled up slightly. Did you ask about my identity? Indeed, when Oya had gone to find Yun Luofeng, she had insisted that she had joined the medical tower. However, from start to finish, she had never asked about her identity. Bang! Oya's legs gave way and she sat down. Her body trembled slightly as she looked at Yun Luofeng with hatred in her eyes. Nangong Lan was also stunned. She had never thought that the woman she looked down on was actually the Tower Master of the medical tower who had caused a sensation during this period of time. No wonder Nangong Uni knew medicine. It was actually related to the medical tower. Nangong Lan's eyelids drooped slightly, concealing the anger and murderous intent in her eyes. If she had known that Nangong Uni was related to the medical tower, she would have disregarded everything and killed him back then. Yun Luofeng, you even hid such an important matter from me? Although she had already guessed this, Nangong Uni's heart was filled with complicated emotions after verifying her guess. She stared resentfully at Yun Luofeng. You didn't ask me. Yun Luofeng paused, then continued. Furthermore, you described me as a demon. How could I tell you about this matter? Nangong Uni's eyes were filled with hidden bitterness. Her expression made Yun Luofeng's hair stand on end. It was as if she was a scoundrel who had abandoned her wife and son. Miss Yun, after seeing Yun Luofeng, Nangong Qing was shocked at first. However, he quickly recovered and asked with a smile, "May I know why you've come to the three great clans?" Yun Luofeng flung her sleeves and sat down. Her body leaned lazily against the back of the chair. Her pitch-black eyes contained a trace of a smile. You should be very clear why I've asked you to come. Yun Luofeng smiled. The situation of the three great clans in Endless City should be broken. The complexion of the O clan's master changed. You mean, I want this Endless City to belong to me. You can only obey me. Those who resist will die. Yun Luofeng's tone was very light, and his demonic voice surged with arrogance and domineeringness. Those who obey me shall prosper, those who oppose me shall perish. Haha. Patriarch Wu laughed out loud. Yun Luofeng, are you joking with us? Obey you? Yun Luofeng's evil eyes landed on Clan Head Wu. Then, she slowly raised her hand. I have the ability to make sure that you won't be able to leave this place. Boom. A huge force slashed down from above. When Family Head Wu raised his head, what he saw was a bright red flame. The red flames were so dazzling that he couldn't even open his eyes. It was also at this moment that a surge of energy entered his body. With a boom, his body flew backward and crashed onto the ground. He coughed up a mouthful of bright red blood. Standing in front of everyone was a little girl. She looked like she was carved from jade and was very cute. Her bright eyes were full of smiles and her little face was radiant. However, no matter how cute this little girl was, fear still rose in everyone's hearts. Furthermore, Patriarch O subconsciously moved his chair back a few steps. Chapter 1103. Who else wants to provoke my master? Fire raised his eyebrows. His domineering eyes looked around at the people present. his cute little face raised into an evil smile. Yun Luofeng's posture was lazy, her left hand supporting her face. Her evil eyes glanced at the ugly face of the O family head. Do you want to obey, or resist? The O family head's face darkened. You should give us some time to think about it. All right. This time, Yun Luofeng was very easy to talk to and readily agreed to the O family head. The O family head slowly breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. As long as Yun Luofeng gave them a buffer time, when the three great families joined forces, the medical tower would definitely not be their match. 1. Just as he was fantasizing, the girl's voice gradually sounded. 2. The O family head was stunned for a moment. He looked up at Yun Luofeng with a confused expression, not knowing what she was thinking. 3. As the last number fell, Yun Luofeng sat up straight, smiled and asked, I have already given you 3 seconds, I don't know what you think. Do. The O family head's face was ashen, his eyes were spitting fire. In such a short period of time, how can we think about it? You should let us go back first, then we can discuss this matter. Fire. Yun Luofeng crossed his legs, his hand landed on his knee, lightly tapping. Those who obey me will prosper, those who oppose me will die. If anyone resists, kill without mercy. After the 3 words kill without mercy fell, the whole ground shook. Immediately, the O family head saw fire appear out of thin air in front of him, fiercely lifted his body, and then threw him out. This time, the O family head was thrown to the point of vomiting blood, extremely embarrassed. I will give you one more chance, what do you think? Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows, looking at the several family heads with a smile that was not a smile. Nan Gongqing pondered for a moment, then said, Miss Yun, I know you are his friend, I don't know if you can give me this face? If you want to rule the other families, we won't stop you, but the matter of the 3 great families. I didn't ask you to come here to discuss with you. I'm just informing you of my decision. The girl's voice was very forceful, so forceful that she could not be refused. Besides, my patience is limited. If you don't agree, I won't let you leave the Western City. It was only at this moment that the patriarchs of the various families felt regret. The medical tower's invitation was clearly a trap. The funny thing was that they had not taken the medical tower seriously in the beginning, so much so that they had attended the banquet alone. Nangong Qing's eyes slightly sank. He glanced at Nangong Yuni and said, Your relationship isn't bad. Why don't you say a few words? Nangong Yuni turned his head, as if he hadn't heard Nangong Qing's words. You haven't decided yet? Yun Luofeng raised his leg and flicked his sleeves. His demonic eyes contained a biting cold light. Since that's the case, then, wait. Nangong Qing suddenly spoke, stopping Yun Luofeng. He wiped away the cold sweat on his forehead and said, Miss Yun, I am willing to obey. A wise man submits to circumstances. Nangong Qing could clearly feel the power contained in Fire's body. This little girl's strength was definitely not simple. Even if all of them joined forces, they might not be her match. Nangong family head, you are too inferior. Wu family head sneered at Nangong Qing. You agreed after being threatened by a woman? I would never. Chapter 1104. Before he finished speaking, a piercing pain came from Patriarch Wu's body. It was so painful that he couldn't help but scream, and his body trembled uncontrollably. Bang! At the same time, a powerful force came from the front. His body was once again thrown out, and he fell to the ground in a sorry state. Yun Luofeng retracted his hand and looked at the others with an evil smile. What about you guys? Do you have any objections to obeying me? No. No objections. Patriarch O swallowed his saliva. His eyes were filled with fear. He didn't even understand how Yun Luofeng had made his move, and Patriarch Wu had already been beaten to the ground by him. Therefore, he didn't dare to resist anymore. Very good. Yun Luofeng raised his lips. In order to control you, I have a few poisons here. If you take them, I'll let you go. Yun Luofeng. Patriarch O clenched his fists tightly and said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes, We don't need to take this poison, right? Who knows if you've poisoned it and will die immediately. Yun Luofeng didn't say anything, and gave Fire a meaningful look. Fire understood her meaning, and stepped forward to take the poison, and personally fed it to the 3 patriarchs. Her actions were very rough. She directly grabbed the other party's chin, and forcefully pried open their mouths. Then she forcefully stuffed it in, and poured a bowl of water down. "All right, you can leave now." Yun Luofeng flicked his sleeves and sat down. He rested his chin on his hand and looked at Nangong Yuni with a smile. "Nangong, you stay. I have something to say." Hearing this, Nangong Yuni, who was about to leave, stopped and turned to look at Yun Luofeng. The people from the 3 great families had already left in a hurry. Therefore, in the entire medical tower, other than Yun Luofeng's people, only Nangong Yuni remained. "Nangong, do you think my actions are too cruel?" Yun Luofeng raised his head to look at Nangong Yuni and asked. Nangong Yuni laughed. "I only remember what you said to me not long ago. You fought so hard for the sake of survival. So, you didn't do anything wrong. Yun Luofeng, no matter what, I will stand by your side. Even if the whole world hates you, I will still accompany you. Just now, I gave your father a tonic." Yun Luofeng stretched lazily and stood up from his chair. "Because he is your father, I will not feed him poison, but I also do not trust him, so I used that tonic to disguise it as poison. If you think he is trustworthy, you can tell him about this." She did not trust Nangong Qing, but she believed in Nangong Yuni. If Nangong Yuni believed that Nangong Qing was reliable, she wouldn't mind him telling him about this matter. Moreover, he couldn't harm Nangong Qing out of respect for Nangong Yuni. Unless the other party attacked her first, "Yun Luofeng, you've done the right thing. Nangong Qing is very selfish, he's not worthy of your trust." Nangong Yuni laughed bitterly. "Don't think that he's usually very concerned about me. In reality, it's because I'm the only male in the Nangong family. If he gives birth to another son, he'll immediately abandon me. This is a selfish man. How could such a selfish person be trusted? But I still thank you." Nangong Yuni looked seriously at Yun Luofeng. He thanked her not because Yun Luofeng let Nangong Qing go, but because she did it for him. This affection was worth keeping for his entire life. "Nangong, after you return to the Nangong family, you must be careful." Yun Luofeng lightly narrowed his eyes. "I'm worried that those people will attack you." Chapter 1105. Nangong Yuni nodded. "I understand. Don't worry, I will pay attention to my safety. Also, the most powerful people in the 3 aristocratic families are not the family heads." Yun Luofeng didn't comment. She already knew what Nangong Yuni was talking about. It was rumored that the 3 aristocratic families were guarded by Holy Spirit practitioners. However, the 3 family heads were only at the Venerable Spirit realm. Therefore, there must be someone even more powerful behind the 3 aristocratic families. "Okay, I got it." Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes. A cold light flashed in them. "If they dare to cause trouble for me, I will make sure they never return." Nangong Yuni shook his head helplessly. He looked at Yun Luofeng one last time, then turned and left. After he left, Qin Yan and Yi Ling walked to Yun Luofeng's side and respectfully called out, "Master." Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows and looked at the two. "What's the matter?" Qin Yan nodded. "Miss Lin went out." "What did you say?" Yun Luofeng's eyes suddenly narrowed. "I ordered that the medical tower will not be peaceful these days. No one is allowed to go out." Who let Xiaobai go out? Even if she controlled the family heads of the 3 aristocratic families, there was someone even more powerful behind the 3 aristocratic families. For safety's sake, she had warned the people of the medical tower that without her orders, no one was allowed to take a step out. But Lin Ruabai actually went out? Qin Yan wiped the cold sweat from her forehead. "Miss, when you gave the order, Miss Lin wasn't in the medical tower. In addition, the people from the 3 aristocratic families are about to arrive. I forgot to tell Miss Lin, so Miss Lin doesn't know that the situation is very dangerous now." Yun Luofeng's expression darkened. There was a storm in his eyes. Qin Yan knelt in front of Yun Luofeng. "Miss, this is my fault. I forgot to tell Miss Lin. I am willing to accept punishment." Yun Luofeng looked at Qin Yan. "This has nothing to do with you. Get up." I was not considerate. Now, all of you stay in the medical tower. I will go find her. Then, the young girl's figure turned into a breeze and quickly disappeared from the medical tower, on the street. The girl held a drumstick in her left hand and a stick of candied hawthorn in her right hand. There was a stain on the corner of her mouth and a bright smile on her cute little face. Master, we've been out for a long time. Shouldn't we go back? Beside her, a spirit beast that looked like a magnificent peacock followed closely. Its arrogant eyes were filled with helplessness as it looked at the young girl. Qing Wan. Suddenly, the young girl stopped in her tracks and frowned slightly. Her bright big eyes looked towards a medicine shop in front of her. I keep feeling that there is something in this shop that attracts me. Qing Wan was taken aback, and when he regained his senses, Lin Ruabai had already stepped into the medicine shop. After entering the medicinal herb store, Lin Ruabai's gaze swept across the area and landed on a withered tree at the corner. The tree was very small, only reaching her waist. Most of the leaves had fallen, and there was a faint smell of death. That's right, it was indeed the aura of death. But for some reason, Lin Ruabai had a feeling that if he gave this withered tree to Yun Luofeng would definitely like it. Boss, how much is this tree? Lin Ruabai pointed at the withered tree and asked. When the boss saw Lin Ruabai's determined look, he was excited. Originally, he was still thinking about how to sell this tree cheaply. He didn't expect a sucker to come so quickly. Chapter 1106. Thinking of this, the boss coughed twice. This tree has some history, so it's worth a lot. If you need it, give me 10,000 taels and I'll sell it to you. A cold light flashed in Qing Wan's eyes. This withered tree was casually thrown in a corner, so it was obviously not valued. How dare he offer such a high price now? He was just about to bargain when Lin Ruabai took out a stack of banknotes and threw it in front of the boss. I'll buy this tree. If Qing Wan could transform into a human, perhaps Lin Ruabai could see his face as black as the bottom of a pot. She had seen stupid people, but never to this extent. Wasn't her master too silly? The boss was obviously tricking her, and she was foolishly tricked. But seeing Lin Ruabai's excited look, Qing Wan couldn't bear to mock her. Lin Ruabai hugged the withered tree and walked out of the medicine shop excitedly. She hadn't walked much when she bumped into the people from the 3 aristocratic families. She saw Nangong Lan from the 3 aristocratic families at a glance, and a look of surprise flashed across her eyes. Strange, these people seemed to come from the west of the city. Did they go to find trouble with Master? The more Lin Ruabai thought about it, the more uneasy she felt. She wanted to leave quickly, but Nangong Lan glanced at her and shouted, "Stop!" Hearing this, Lin Ruabai didn't even stop and quickly rushed to the west of the city. Do you know her? Nangong Qing glanced at Lin Ruabai and asked in a low voice. Father, do you remember that your daughter's spirit beast was snatched by Yun Luofeng? That spirit beast is beside this woman. Nangong Lan took a deep breath. This woman is Yun Luofeng's disciple. Nangong Qing was stunned and subconsciously looked at Lin Ruabai. Miss Nangong, is what you said true? Master Wu laughed. It's really a case of wearing out iron shoes in vain. Finding it effortlessly. I didn't expect that we would meet Yun Luofeng's disciple here. In my opinion, we should capture this woman and force Yun Luofeng to hand over the antidote. The O family's master sneered. I don't think that Yun Luofeng will hand over the antidote for a disciple. After all, compared to power, a disciple is more important. That might not be the case. Nangong Lan curled her lips. Yun Luofeng loves this disciple very much, otherwise he wouldn't have stolen my spiritual beast. Therefore, I feel that Patriarch Wu's method is feasible. Father, don't you want to cure the poison? As long as you get rid of the poison, you won't need to be afraid of Yun Luofeng anymore. Nangong Qing was silent. He knew that what his daughter said made sense. As long as the poison was cured, he would no longer have to be controlled by Yun Luofeng. Stop. While Nangong Qing was still thinking, the people from the Wu and O families had already started to move. They surrounded Lin Ruabai and said with a sneer, "Miss, please come with us." Lin Ruabai took 2 steps back. Because you are Yun Luofeng's disciple. The O clan's master bellowed. His fist was wrapped in a layer of swift and fierce wind, and he quickly arrived in front of Lin Rubai. "Master, be careful." Seeing this, the blue Luan's body flashed and blocked in front of Lin Rubai. It opened its mouth and let out a cry. Under that cry, the O clan's master's movements paused. At this moment, the blue Luan launched its attack. This spiritual beast is in the venerable realm? Nan Gongqing narrowed his eyes and muttered to himself. Chapter 1107. Nan Gonglan was filled with regret when she saw the blue Luan's power. She never expected that the bird would have the power of a venerable one. If she had known, she would not have given it to Yun Luofeng. That's right. In Nangonglan's heart, Yun Luofeng only had the chance to obtain this spiritual beast because she had given it to him. Let's attack together and subdue this spiritual beast. Master Wu looked at Nan Gongqing and said. Nan Gongqing sighed helplessly and finally joined the battle. No matter how powerful a spiritual beast was, it could not possibly deal with opponents of similar power at the same time. Hence, after a few rounds, she had already fallen into a disadvantageous position. Lin Rubai hugged the tree in her arms tightly and stared vigilantly at the people from the three great families. She carefully retreated, but there was already an ice-cold wall behind her. She had nowhere to retreat to. Is that thing in your arms very important to you? Nangong Lan glanced at Lin Ruabai's cautious movements and asked with a cold smile. Lin Ruabai's body stiffened and she hugged the tree even tighter. This was a gift she had given to her master. She could not give it to these people. All of you, capture that damned girl and crush the thing in her arms. Nangong Lan raised her hand and ordered coldly. In an instant, the people from the Nangong family pulled out their weapons and swiftly attacked Lin Rubai. When the blue Luan saw that Lin Rubai was in danger, it instantly let out an angry cry. It wanted to get rid of these people and save Lin Rubai as soon as possible. Unfortunately, these people surrounded it from both sides and prevented it from reaching Lin Ruabai's side. Master, quickly escape. Quickly find Sir Luofeng and leave. The blue Luan's expression was filled with sorrow and its crisp voice was filled with despair. At this moment, the guards arrived in front of Lin Rubai. Lin Rubai hugged the withered tree tightly and leaned to the side to avoid the fierce attacks. Because she was hugging a tree, she could not use her hands to attack and could only dodge the weapons. A guard took advantage of Lin Ruabai's dodging and snatched the withered tree from her hands. He threw it fiercely on the ground and stabbed the withered tree with his sword. No! Lin Ruabai's tearing voice echoed through the entire street. She charged towards the guard as if she had gone mad. Give it back to me, give it back to me. Bang! Unknowingly, Nangong Lan had appeared beside her and kicked her waist, sending her body flying. Lin Ruabai spat out a mouthful of blood and stared at Nangong Lan with bloodshot eyes. If it was in the past, Nangong Lan would not be able to hurt her. But now, Lin Ruabai's mind was already filled with rage, to the extent that he couldn't see Nangong Lan's movements. Since you like this tree, I'll destroy it. Nangong Lan sneered, and a fireball gradually rose from her hand. Destroyed? Lin Ruabai's pupils constricted when he heard this. At the same time, Nangong Lan's fireball was already flying towards the withered tree. No! Lin Ruabai suddenly got up from the ground and quickly dashed towards the withered tree. The moment the fireball entered the withered tree, she raised her hand and pulled the withered tree into her embrace. Damn you! No one could touch what she wanted to give to her master. Nangong Lan was a little surprised. She looked at Lin Ruabai in shock. She seemed to have discovered something unbelievable as her eyes widened in shock. Chapter 1108. You're an advanced heavenly spiritualist? Advanced heavenly spiritualist? The people around Yun Luofeng were all so abnormal? If not for Lin Ruabai's mind being on the withered tree, she would not have been able to sneak an attack on her. This withered tree is a gift from me to master. You actually want to destroy it? You deserve to die. Boom. Lin Ruabai's killing intent surged, powerful spiritual energy spiraled above her head, forming a whirlpool. Elder. Nangong Lan felt Lin Ruabai's aura and her expression changed. Save me. This time, not only did the Nangong family's elder move, even the people from the other two families collectively attacked Lin Ruabai. A fist suddenly landed on Lin Ruabai's back, Her body quickly moved forward, a mouthful of blood sprayed out, dyeing the front of her clothes red. These elders' strength was also at the venerable realm, and with so many of them, no matter how strong Lin Ruabai was, she would not be able to deal with so many elders. So, she only used all her strength to protect the withered tree in her arms. At this moment, there were already many people surrounding them. They did not know what had happened. Their expressions were full of doubt. In order to protect her image, Nangong Lan cleared her throat and said, "Everyone, this girl is a servant of our Nangong family, and now she has stolen our Nangong family's wealth, so I specially came here to chase after her." So that's how it is. Hearing this, everyone came to a realization and looked at Lin Ruabai with eyes full of contempt. This little girl is quite pretty. I never thought that she would do such a thing. Hitiske, you really don't know a person's face. She even dared to steal things from the Nangong family. Is she tired of living? This kind of thief should be cut into pieces and die without a complete corpse. These people's words were like a sword, ruthlessly stabbing into Lin Ruabai's heart. She wanted to defend herself, but in order to protect the withered tree, she had already used up all her strength, to the point that she did not even have the strength to speak. The blue wand finally fell in front of her. The gorgeous feather tail became tattered, full of wounds. Bright red blood pierced into Lin Ruabai's eyes, causing her eyes to gradually turn blood red. I don't think there's any need for you to keep this tree. Nangong Lan walked in front of Lin Ruabai and tried her best to take away the withered tree from Lin Ruabai's hands. However, even after using all her strength, she was still unable to take away her beloved treasure. Someone, help me cut off this woman's hand. I want to see if she will let go. Nangong Lan said angrily. Yes, young miss. Hearing this, two people immediately stepped forward with their swords. The sharp blades of their swords shone brightly under the direct sunlight. The green phoenix struggled to open its eyes and looked at the dazed Lin Ruabai. Its lips moved slightly. Quickly escape, master, quickly escape. Lin Ruabai stared at the green phoenix in a daze. The red light in his eyes was reflected, as bewitching as the color of blood. She muttered to herself, her expression as dull as ever. Those who want to steal my gift to master deserve to die. Those who hurt Blue Luan deserve to die. Therefore, these people should all die here. Boom. A wave of monstrous power surged out from Lin Ruabai's body. In that instant, a violent gust of wind blew, and the sun and moon lost their color. Lin Ruabai stood in the wind, her cute and exquisite little face expressionless. Her blood-red eyes stared coldly at the group of people in front of her. Chapter 1109. Oh no! Nangong Qing's expression changed when he sensed the aura surging from Xiao Bai's body. He quickly shouted, "Hurry up and stop her, or it'll be too late." All of a sudden, everyone rushed towards Whitey. Their bodies were like sharp blades, killing without leaving a trace. Lin Ruabai's blood-red eyes were calm and emotionless as she stared coldly at the people charging at her. The storm above her head did not dissipate. Instead, it grew even more violent. A strong gust of wind appeared around her, causing her hair to dance wildly in the wind. Her childish face was delicate and adorable, but it was not as lively as before. Instead, it was so cold that it made people tremble in fear. The moment Nangong Qing and the others reached her, the aura from her body swept out like an explosion. In an instant, those people were sent flying and fell to the ground pathetically. Nangong Qing raised his head in shock. When he saw the young lady's green clothes, his eyes were filled with panic and fear. Demon! Indeed, in their eyes, Lin Ruabai was like a bloodthirsty demon. It was as if she had lost her mind and only knew how to kill. Run! Nangong Qing and the others looked at each other, then turned around and fled. The only thing they could do now was to go back and ask for reinforcements. Master, Qing Wan looked at Lin Ruabai in a daze. For some reason, the young lady gave him a strange feeling. This feeling caused his heart to tremble uncontrollably. All of you deserve to die. Lin Ruabai raised her hand. In an instant, a wave of energy shot out from her hand and hit an elder from the Nangong family. At that instant, everyone witnessed an unforgettable scene. A hole appeared in the elder's chest, but no blood flowed out. Then, the hole grew bigger and bigger until it gradually spread to the elder's entire body. In a flash, his body turned into ashes and dissipated into the air. He did not even have the chance to scream before he died. However, this elder was a venerable spiritualist. A venerable spiritualist could not even withstand a single blow from her? Nangong Lan gulped and subconsciously took 2 steps back. Her pale face was filled with fear. She wanted to turn around and run away from this demon. However, at this moment, Lin Ruabai's gaze had already landed on her. "Father, save me!" Nangong Lan cried out in panic. She was so anxious that tears almost flowed down her face. She had originally thought that her disciple, Yun Luofeng, was a pushover. Who would have thought that this woman's strength would suddenly increase to such a powerful level? If she had known this would happen, she would never have provoked her. Boom! Lin Ruabai's body suddenly disappeared into thin air. When she reappeared, she was already behind Nangong Lan. She punched Nangong Lan's back, sending her flying several meters away. She coughed up blood. She raised her head in fear and saw that Lin Ruabai had already walked in front of her. "You don't kill me, I was wrong. Please don't kill me." Nangong Lan looked at Lin Ruabai with tears in her eyes, which were filled with fear and pleading. Clearly, the current Lin Ruabai was no different from a demon in her eyes. "Die!" Lin Ruabai raised her chin slightly and looked down at Nangong Lan, who was lying on the ground. She raised her sword high in her hand and was about to fall. Nangong Lan was so scared that her face turned pale. Boom! At this moment, several powerful auras came from not too far away, causing the originally dark and colorless sky to become even darker. Chapter 11:10. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. The crowd was shocked by Lin Ruabai's actions. They quickly found a place to hide and observed the situation from afar. Suddenly, an elderly voice rang out in the sky, intimidating everyone. "Who dares to kill in my endless city?" The old man's voice was ethereal, but it was enough to shock everyone. It was as if a blow had struck their hearts, causing their souls to tremble. Slowly, several silhouettes appeared in the sky. They were all dressed in gray robes and had an ethereal air about them. Ancestral elders. The members of the 3 aristocratic families were overjoyed when they saw the elders. They never thought that the ancestral elders would find their way here so quickly. Ancestral elders? Among the onlookers, there were some who didn't understand and asked curiously, "Who are these ancestral elders?" "You probably don't know about this." One of the insiders smiled mysteriously. There have been many open and secret fights between the 3 aristocratic families over the years. However, none of them have suffered any losses. Do you know why? Why? The crowd grew even more curious. The person continued to smile. Because there's a hall of elders above the 3 aristocratic families. The elders in the hall are all members of the 3 aristocratic families. In other words, as long as someone from the 3 aristocratic families becomes a Holy Spirit, they can enter the Hall of Elders. Holy Spirit? The crowd turned pale with fright. They could not help but gasp as they looked at the elders in the sky. No wonder the 3 aristocratic families' status had been unshakable all these years. It turned out that there were more than 10 Holy Spirit cultivators above them. It was precisely because of these Holy Spirit cultivators that the 3 aristocratic families had not suffered any losses over the years. Lin Ruabai remained expressionless. He swung his sword down as if he had not heard the ancestral elder's words. "I told you to stop. Didn't you hear me?" The gray-robed elder flew into a rage. He quickly appeared in front of Lin Ruabai and raised his hand to block Lin Ruabai. Bang! A powerful aura erupted from the 2 of them, sweeping the surrounding stalls into the sky before smashing them down. Lin Ruabai took a few steps back and looked at the gray-robed elder expressionlessly. A red light flickered in his eyes. "All of you deserve to die." Her aura had not stopped since the beginning, and her strength was also increasing rapidly. If this continued, even if all the elders of the 3 great clans joined forces, they might not be able to defeat her. The gray-robed elder gritted his teeth and said to his colleague, "Let's kill this little girl before she completely turns into a demon and get rid of this evil for the people." As long as one reached the status of the gray-robed old man, they would pay more attention to their face. He wouldn't say that he wanted to kill Lin Ruabai because he was afraid of her growth. He would only tell everyone that he was getting rid of a scourge for the people. In an instant, all the old men floated in front of Lin Ruabai and surrounded her. Qing Yuan supported her heavily injured body and climbed up. She shouted angrily, "You shameless old bastards, so many people bullying a little girl, do you still have any shame?" The gray-robed elder scoffed coldly and said mockingly, "I've already said that we're getting rid of a scourge for the people. This little girl is a scourge. If we don't kill her, the entire mainland will suffer. Therefore, for the sake of the people on the mainland, she must die." Qing Yuan trembled with anger. She had never seen such a shameless person. Chapter 11:11. I think that the three great families' ancestral elders are right. This woman has clearly turned into a demon. Look at her eyes, they are clearly the eyes of a demon. If she doesn't die, many people will suffer. That's right. This woman deserves to die. She has a cruel nature. She should be killed for the safety of the common people. The crowd jeered and shouted. In their eyes, Lin Ruabai was a demon and the people from the three great families were deities who had slain demons. Lin Ruabai remained expressionless as she stood in the middle of the elders' encirclement. Her red eyes were blood-red and it seemed as if there was a blood-red light in her eyes. It was extremely terrifying. A battle was about to break out. The ancestral elders were Holy Spirit practitioners and were supreme beings on this mainland. Even so, Lin Ruabai did not fall into a disadvantageous position when facing so many ancestral elders at the same time. "Mother," just then, a soft voice rang out from the crowd, "I know this little sister. She seems to be from the medical tower." If Qin Yen was here, she would have recognized this little girl as the one who had almost been hit by the O family's carriage and had been rescued by her. She was also the one who had vowed to join the medical tower after she had been rescued. "Oh, don't talk." The woman next to her was so frightened that she covered her mouth and carefully watched the battle in front of her. However, she did not cover her mouth very tightly and the little girl's voice could still be heard faintly. "Mother, why do they all think that this little sister is at fault? I think that the people from the three great families are not good people. They had wanted to hit me before and it was the big sister from the medical tower who saved me. Therefore, these people are the bad people and the big sister from the medical tower is definitely a good person. I must join the medical tower in the future." The little girl was still young. In her heart, Qing Yen, who had saved her, must be a good person. Therefore, the people from the medical tower were also good people. On the contrary, the people from the O family who wanted to hit her were definitely bad people. The woman was shocked and broke out in a cold sweat. She hurriedly shouted, "Don't talk nonsense so that you don't get into trouble." The little girl blinked her ignorant eyes. She was still young and did not know what had happened. The gray-robed old man looked at the little girl coldly and a fierce look flashed in his eyes. When no one was paying attention, a powerful force shot out from his sleeve and directly struck the little girl. The little girl did not notice the gray-robed elder's actions. It should be said that no one saw this scene. Hence, when they saw Lin Ruabai rushing towards the little girl, everyone was shocked. "Quick, get out of the way, this demoness has gone mad." Everyone hurriedly screamed. The woman was also stunned. By the time she came back to her senses, Lin Ruabai was already in front of the little girl. Puff! She quickly pulled the little girl into her arms and the attack landed fiercely on her back. Previously, in order to chase after this attack, she had used up a lot of strength, so she did not have the chance to put up a defense. If a spiritualist fought without any defense, he would only be slightly better than a normal person. This was also why it was so easy for assassins to kill people of a higher rank than them. The little girl blinked her eyes in a daze, staring blankly at Lin Ruabai. She stretched out her hand and wiped the blood from the corner of Lin Ruabai's mouth, her eyes filled with confusion. "Big sister, why are you bleeding?" Chapter 11:12. Lin Ruabai lowered her head to look at the little girl. Her eyes were still blood-red, but her face was no longer expressionless. Under the cover of the sun, there was a layer of light. "Did you just say that you want to join the medical tower?" The little girl nodded seriously. The medical tower is full of good people. The 3 aristocratic families are all bad people. I want to join the medical tower and beat up the bad people. This time, the woman did not stop the little girl. No matter how stupid she was, she could see everything in front of her. Her daughter had said a few words about the 3 aristocratic families, and these sanctimonious people had tried to kill her. If the girl from the medical tower had not risked her life to save her, perhaps her daughter would have been separated from her. Lin Ruabai smiled. Her smile was so dazzling that no one could look away. Remember what you said today. The medical tower welcomes you at any time. Miss. The woman stepped forward and supported Lin Ruabai's body. Thank you for saving my daughter. Lin Ruabai shook her head. She's a good seedling. With proper training, she will become a fighting force by my master's side. I won't let the medical tower lose a good seedling. If I don't die this time, I will mention it to my master and let her enter the medical tower to study. Cough cough. Lin Ruabai coughed out 2 mouthfuls of blood. Her body became weak and she gradually fell to the ground. Little sister. The little girl cried bitterly. She wanted to catch Lin Ruabai, but she did not have enough strength. She could only fall to the ground with Lin Ruabai. Bring her back. The gray-robed elder snorted coldly and said expressionlessly. The woman's body trembled. Just as she was about to speak, the little girl had already climbed up from the ground and stood in front of Lin Ruabai. You bad people, you can't bully little sister. The gray-robed elder's eyes darkened. He put on a fake smile and said, Can't you see that this woman has already become a demon? She's a scourge. We're getting rid of a scourge for the people. The crowd, who originally agreed with the gray-robed elder, did not provoke Lin Ruabai like they did last time. They unanimously remained silent. Master O did not have such good patience. He stepped forward, lifted the little girl, and threw her away. He then put Lin Ruabai on his shoulder and said, Let's go. Wow! The little girl had just been picked up from the ground by the woman when she saw Lin Ruabai being carried away. She was so anxious that she burst into tears. She struggled to get up, but in the end, she could only watch as Lin Ruabai was taken away. Little girl, Nangong Lan stood up, a smile appearing on her beautiful face. Don't be tricked by someone, that woman is not a good person. The woman hugged her daughter tightly and spat on Nangong Lan's face. She's not a good person? So you guys are good stuff? My daughter only said a few words about your 3 great clans, and you want to silence them. That girl shouldn't have lost. If it weren't for saving my daughter, she wouldn't have been hit. In the end, who's the bad guy? Nangong Lan's face darkened as she looked coldly at the woman. Just as she was about to speak, the mocking voices beside her surged over like a tide. I really thought that the girl had become a demon, causing her to kill people crazily. I didn't think that we'd misunderstood her in the end. Indeed, if the 3 great clans hadn't provoked her, she wouldn't have killed people out of anger. In the end, she was even injured for someone she had nothing to do with. Chapter 11:13. Actually, it's not completely unrelated. If this little girl had not said that she wanted to join the medical tower, she would not have saved her. But no matter what, it's a fact that she has saved others. On the contrary, these hypocrites who keep saying that they are helping the people get rid of evil have killed people just because of a few words from a little girl. Hearing the voices of these people, Nangong Lan's expression turned exceptionally ugly. She did not dare to say another word and left dejectedly. How glorious she had been when she had arrived was how miserable she had been now. Even though the 3 great families had captured Lin Ruabai, their reputation that they had built up over the years had plummeted. From now on, no one would ever trust the 3 great families again. On the street, Yun Luofeng saw the crowd in front of her from afar. She frowned and quickly walked over. When she stepped forward, she saw the blue Luan lying on the ground. Her peerlessly beautiful face sank instantly. Could it be that she was still a step too late? Lord Luofeng. The blue Luan struggled to lift her eyelids. When she saw Yun Luofeng walking towards her, her heart filled with joy. She hurriedly said, Master Shi has been captured by the 3 great families. Yun Luofeng slowly walked forward, took out a medicinal herb and fed it to the blue Luan. After the blue Luan's injuries had healed, she gradually stood up. An evil light flashed in her pitch-black eyes. Fire, send the blue Luan back. As soon as she finished speaking, a fiery red figure appeared out of thin air and appeared next to Yun Luofeng. This was a girl who looked like a porcelain doll. Her red clothes were like blood and she was extremely enchanting. Even though she was still young and had yet to shed her childishness, one could still see how beautiful she would be in the future. At this moment, the girl was standing next to Yun Luofeng. She opened her mouth and asked, "Master, why didn't you bring me along to settle the score with the 3 great families? This time, I don't need you. I alone am enough." Yun Luofeng gently raised her eyes. If she did not wipe out the 3 great families, how could she quell the anger in her heart? Those who hurt Xiaobai deserve to die. Sister, Yuana looked at Yun Luofeng with her large, teary eyes. Are you going to save the big sister just now? Yun Luofeng stopped in his tracks and turned back to look at Yuan. His brows furrowed tightly. Miss, the woman understood the doubts in Yun Luofeng's heart and hurriedly explained, that little girl was injured while trying to save my daughter. You are all my benefactors, I will pray for your safety here. Blinked her big eyes and looked at Yun Luofeng with some fear. This elder sister's aura was too frightening. She was like a god. That's right, her aura was like that of a god, high and mighty, impossible to blaspheme. It also gave people a sense of security. Big sister said that I can join the medical tower. Is that true? Yun Luofeng raised his brows and scrutinized Yuan once again. When he saw her talent, a look of surprise flashed across his pitch-black eyes. This little girl is not simple. If he were to be nurtured properly in the future, he would definitely become a powerhouse. What she said is true. You can join the medical tower right now. The woman was startled and asked, how can Miss be so sure? As she spoke, Yun Luofeng was already far away, madly sprinting in the direction of the 3 aristocratic families. However, in the air, her voice could still be heard from afar. Because I am the pagoda master of the medical tower, I can make this decision. The pagoda master of the medical tower? Everyone was shocked and stared blankly at the place where Yun Luofeng had disappeared. Chapter 11:14. So this woman was the legendary medical tower's tower master. She was also so beautiful and peerless. Her blinked her eyes in a daze. Mother, this sister is so handsome, I want to marry her when I grow up. The woman's forehead twitched as she looked at her daughter with a black face. Yun Luofeng would never have thought that his unintentional actions would cause an ignorant little girl to say such words. Nangong family. Nangong Qing sat on a chair with a face full of worry. His entire person looked very depressed. I have completely fallen out with the medical tower. I'm afraid I won't be able to explain to you. Master. The great elder looked at Nangong Qing. Everything is more important than the big picture. Even if young master has a good impression of that woman from the medical tower, he still knows what is right and wrong. She is just an outsider. How can she make us obey? Dream on. Nangong Qing sighed helplessly. There was no turning back. He could only brace himself and continue on. Master. At this moment, a delicate voice came from outside the hall. Nangong Qing frowned and turned to look, only to see Mu Qianxian and her daughter entering the hall. Why are you here? His expression was not very good as he looked at Nangong Lan coldly. If it wasn't for Nangong Lan, they wouldn't have almost been annihilated today. Nangong Lan lowered her head and did not make a sound, but her hands were clenched tightly by her sides. Master, you don't have to blame Lan. Is your only flesh and blood in this world. Mu Qianxian smiled delicately and slowly walked towards Nangong Qing. Nangong Qing frowned. What do you mean? I still have is my son, he should inherit the Nangong family. Hearing the man's words, Nangong Lan's body shook and her heart suddenly sank. No matter how much she did in her father's eyes, there would always be that illegitimate child. Nangong Yuni? Mu Qianxian sneered. That boy's mother is indiscreet, flirting around. Who can be sure that Nangong Yuni is Master's biological son? We used a drop of blood to identify our kinship. Nangong Qing snorted and replied in a bad mood. Mu Qianxian's eyes flickered and she said with a smile, Patriarch, how can a blood test be reliable? The person who colluded with Nangong Yuni's mother is your biological younger brother. With this bloodline here, it is very likely that the blood test will succeed. Stop! Nangong Qing's forehead twitched violently as he shouted angrily. The younger brother colluded with his sister-in-law. This was a humiliation that the Nangong family could not mention. Patriarch, do you think Nangong Yuni is similar to you in any way? Mu Qianxian's voice seemed to have a magical power, causing Nangong Qing to fall silent. Originally, he didn't feel anything, but when he heard Mu Qianxian's words, he felt that Nangong Yuni was very suspicious. That slut and her own little brother were in cahoots, maybe. Nangong Yuni was also their product. No wonder Nangong Yuni didn't listen to him. So he had been deceiving him all along? Bang! Nangong Qing slapped the table. If he really isn't my son, then I won't let him go. He would never allow anyone to deceive him. Moreover, these days he had given Nangong Qing too much love. How could he endure this kind of disappointment? Mu Qianxian, what evidence do you have to prove that Yuni isn't my son? Patriarch, I brought someone to see you. Mu Qianxian smiled mysteriously and clapped her hands. In an instant, 2 guards brought a man in. Chapter 11:15. This man was thin and handsome. There were a few strands of white hair at his temples and he looked very weathered. Upon seeing this man, Nangong Qing's suppressed anger surged once again. Nangong Qin, you actually dare to appear in front of me. Nangong Qin swallowed his saliva with difficulty and glanced at Mu Qianxian. When he saw Mu Qianxian give him a look, he smiled helplessly and turned to face Nangong Qing. I'm here to reunite with my son. What? Nangong Qing clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. What are you saying? Nangong Qin lowered his eyes to hide the apologetic look in his eyes. Nangong Yuni is my son with Fu. Boom. Nangong Qing slammed his fist on the table and instantly, the table broke into 2. His expression was ferocious and terrifying. Say what you just said one more time? Who's your son? Nangong Qin raised his head and looked into Nangong Qing's eyes, which were filled with anger. He said word by word, Nangong Yuni is my son. As soon as he said this, Nangong Qing staggered a little. What followed was an even more intense anger. At this moment, he did not see the smiles on Mu Qianxian and her daughter's faces or the flash of pride in their eyes. Nangong Yuni, if you're not Nangong Qing's son, let's see how you plan to seize the Nangong family? Coincidentally, Nangong Yuni returned at this moment. As soon as he stepped into the Nangong family residence, he felt that the atmosphere was a little off. He was stunned for a moment before he asked, what happened? As soon as the question left his mouth, he remembered the words he had heard on the street and continued to ask, Father, I heard that you made a move against the people from the medical tower? If this guy really wanted to become Yun Luofeng's enemy, then he would definitely stand on Yun Luofeng's side without any hesitation. Ha! Nangong Qing was so angry that he laughed. You bastard, how dare you question me? Who gave you the courage to do so? I should have known that you're born from that bitch and another man. You're not my son at all. Otherwise, why would you be so disobedient? Nangong Yuni's expression darkened. You better be more respectful when you speak. What do you mean by born with another man? From the beginning to the end, my mother only had you as a man. You still want to quibble? Your biological father has already come knocking on your door, and you still don't want to admit it. Nangong Qing was furious. I've been so good to you, but I didn't expect that all I did was raise someone else's son. Since your biological father has found his way here, none of you can leave. Boom. Nangong Qing suddenly rushed in front of Nangong Yuni. His palm fiercely grabbed Nangong Yuni's neck and forcefully threw him to the ground. Little bastard, don't think that I don't know that you and that woman Yun Luofeng colluded to plot against me. That's right. I really did capture Yun Luofeng's disciple. My goal was to force her to hand over the antidote. Nangong Yuni smiled. Blood dripped from the corner of his mouth, and his smile was very bleak. Why are you always so stupid? Do you believe whatever others say? Because of what this man and Mu Qianxian said, My mother had to bear the crime for so many years. Did you catch them in bed, or did you see them having sex with your own eyes? No, you didn't see anything. It was because of these people's words that my mother had to bear the crime for so long. Nangong Yuni crawled up from the ground and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. He raised his head to look at Nangong Qing, and the corner of his mouth curled into a mocking smile. Your intelligence makes me feel sad. Chapter 11:16. Impudent. Nangong Qing roared angrily. Every time he thought about how his son, whom he had placed all his hopes on, was a bastard child, the rage in his heart would surge uncontrollably. Guards, lock Nangong Yuni up. We'll deal with him later. Yes, master. Hearing this, the two guards stepped forward and grabbed Nangong Yuni's arms. Nangong Yuni raised his hand and fiercely flung the guards' hands away. He then swept his cold gaze across Nangong Qing and said expressionlessly, "One day, you will regret what you've done today." After he had spoken, he glanced at Wuxia and Xianxia and the smile on his face became even more disdainful. If you don't want anyone to know, don't do it. You're on your own. After saying these words, Nangong Yuni waved his sleeves and left in a carefree and unrestrained manner under the escort of two guards. Once he had walked out of the great hall, he felt his legs turn to jelly and his back was drenched in sweat. He was really afraid that Nangong Qing would kill him in a fit of rage. Hence, even though he had pretended to be cool, his legs were already trembling in fear. However, he would not show his cowardice and weakness in front of the mother and daughter. Father. Nangong Lan's eyes flashed. Nangong Yuni is rather cunning. I'm afraid that the two guards will not be able to keep an eye on him and let him escape. I will personally take him to the prison. Nangong Qing waved his hand and sat down on a chair, looking slightly tired. Go. Yes, father. Nangong Lan joined her fists and walked out of the great hall. No one noticed that the moment she left, a trace of viciousness flashed across her eyes. Nangong Yuni, perhaps you never thought that you would fall into my hands one day. Nangong Qing could not even look in the direction that Nangong Lan had left. His expression was cold and dark as he looked at the kneeling Nangong Qin and slammed his hand on the table. I've always treated you well, why must you treat me like this? It's fine that you've colluded with Fuer, but why is it that even my beloved son is your bastard child? The more Nangong Qing spoke, the angrier he became. His face turned red with anger as he glared fiercely at Nangong Qin. It was as if he wanted to tear Nangong Qin into a million pieces. Nangong Qin lowered his head. I was indeed in the wrong. You can punish me as you wish. Haha. Nangong Qing furiously laughed twice. Good, very good. Now that you have fallen into my hands, I will never let you go. Men, take him away. Cut off a piece of his flesh every day until he dies. Hearing Nangong Qing's words, Nangong Chen's body trembled, but he did not raise his head. Two guards stepped forward, lifted his body, and walked out of the hall. When Nangong Chen's body was lifted, he subconsciously looked at Wuxia and Xianxia. His lips moved slightly. His lips were saying, "Remember your promise to me." Wuxia and Xianxia smiled. Promise? What the hell was that? She had never been one to keep her promises. Now that she thought about it, Nangong Chen was indeed an infatuated man. That year, she had captured his lover and fed her a deadly poison to force Nangong Chen to frame that woman. Nangong Chen had listened to everything she said for the sake of his beloved lover. Even though he had been misunderstood by his own brother and had spent so many years in hiding. He had never thought of clearing up the matter. Chapter 11:17. What a joke. Nangong Chen's lover was already dead, yet Nangong Chen continued to work for her. Perhaps he should be thanking her. If it wasn't for her, Nangong Chen wouldn't have the chance to reunite with his lover in the Yellow Springs. In a dark and damp prison cell, Lin Ruobai's body was nailed to the wall. Fresh blood flowed from her wound, dyeing her green clothes red. She looked like she was soaked in a vat of blood, lifeless. Go in. Suddenly, the prison's door was pushed open. Nangong Lan fiercely pushed Nangong Yuni inside. Just as Nangong Yuni was about to curse out in anger, he suddenly saw Lin Ruobai nailed to the wall. His heart immediately sank, and his low voice was filled with rage. Nangong Lan, what did you do to Yun Luofeng's disciple? Nangong Lan smiled. These nails are made of special materials. They can suppress the rising power in her body. If she continues to grow, she will definitely become a scourge. So, the Nangong family is getting rid of a scourge for the people. Nangong Uni spat at Nangong Lan's shameless face. He was so angry that his handsome face turned green. Getting rid of a scourge? I think that the people who should be getting rid of are the people from the Nangong family. Nangong Lan's eyes turned cold. In a flash, she rushed in front of Nangong Uni. Her palm was wrapped in a layer of spiritual energy and she attacked Nangong Uni's chest. At this moment, the ring on Nangong Uni's finger flashed. In an instant, two spiritual beasts, one big and one small, appeared in front of Nangong Lan. An angry roar caused Nangong Lan to take a few steps back. She narrowed her eyes and stared dangerously at the blood lion in front of Nangong Uni. Don't forget who brought you out of the forest of no return. Is this how you treat me now? The blood lion snorted. It was originally very comfortable in the forest of no return. Who knew that it would accidentally fall into this woman's trap and leave its home to come here? Don't tell me. I have to thank her? Nangong Uni. When Nangong Lan saw that the blood lion was not listening to her, she turned her gaze towards Nangong Uni and sneered. Don't forget, this is our Nangong family. Do you think that these two spiritual beasts can protect you? Besides, Yun Luofeng's disciple has fallen into my hands. If you don't want her to suffer even more, then call back your spiritual beast. Nangong Uni clenched his fists tightly. He glanced at Lin Ruabai who was covered in blood behind him. His eyes darkened. Little lightning, little blood, come back. The twin-winged purple-tailed mink and the blood lion cried out in protest. If they left, Master would definitely be tortured by this woman. You guys go back. Right now, Nangong Lan doesn't have the guts to kill me. Nangong Uni raised his eyes, his gaze filled with determination. This is an order. Once a spirit beast was tamed, it would obey any order from its master. No matter how unwilling they could only return to the ring. Nangong Lan, let this lady go. Nangong Uni clenched his fists tightly. If you let her go, I'll let you do whatever you want to me. Nangong Lan glanced at Nangong Uni. Looks like you have deep feelings for Yun Luofeng. For her disciple, you're willing to sacrifice yourself like this. You'll never understand. There's a kind of feeling called brotherhood. This kind of brotherhood has nothing to do with love. For her, I can lay down my head and spill my blood. I can also stand by her side when she becomes enemies with the entire world. But people like you will never understand the feelings we had before. Chapter 11:18. That kind of feeling had nothing to do with romance or staying together for a lifetime. He would only protect you with everything he had in his limited life. Nangong Lan frowned. She thought that Nangong Uni sacrificed himself to save Lin Ruabai because he loved Yun Luofeng. Now it seemed that wasn't the case. Friendship? What a joke. She never believed that this kind of feeling existed in this world. Nangong Uni, you want to save Lin Ruabai? If you can withstand 10 of my moves, I'll let her go. Nangong Lan sneered. She waved her hand and took out a hammer from her spatial ring. Bang! Her hammer smashed onto Nangong Uni's back. He clenched his fist and his body slightly swayed. Nangong Uni, you're not allowed to use your defense. Otherwise, I won't let this woman go. Without using his defense, he was only slightly better than a normal person. How could Nangong Uni withstand 10 hits in his current state? Nangong Uni's body trembled. In the end, he still removed all his defenses and exposed his weakness to Nangong Lan. The second hammer smashed down. Nangong Uni couldn't withstand it and fell to the ground. He propped himself up and tried to get up. However, he felt a heart-wrenching pain. Only when he felt the pain did he realize that his spine had been broken by that hammer strike. You can't take it after just 2 hits? I still have 8 hits waiting for you. Nangong Lan laughed coldly. I want to see how long you can last. Bang! Another hammer fell on Nangong Uni's back. He felt a fishy taste in his mouth. A mouthful of fresh blood was stuck in his throat, making his throat extremely uncomfortable. On the fourth hit, he felt his upper and lower eyelids fighting. He was powerless to separate them and could only let them close. The fifth hit, he couldn't hold on any longer. His mind was in a state of dizziness. He could only rely on his last bit of willpower to hold on. His mother's grievances hadn't been cleared. Nangong Qing hadn't regretted it. Mu Qianxian and her mother hadn't received their retribution. How could he die here? It was just 10 hits. As a man, how could he not hold on? On the sixth strike, Nangong Yuni felt his back go numb. His entire body lost all feeling. He fiercely clenched his teeth. The pain from the tip of his tongue prevented his will from sinking. Following that, the 7th, 8th, 9th, all of them fell. As long as he could endure this last strike, he would be able to save Lin Ruobai. Nangong Yuni, I didn't expect you to be able to hold on. I wonder if you can withstand this final attack. Nangong Lan raised the iron hammer in her hand high up. All of her spiritual energy was transferred to the iron hammer. Then, it streaked across the moist air and suddenly landed on Nangong Yuni's back. Puff! The mouthful of blood that was stuck in his throat was finally spurted out by this hammer strike. The ground in front of him was covered in a pool of blood. It was a ghastly sight. Nangong Lan. Nangong Yuni's voice was very weak, as if it could disappear at any time. I've already endured 10 strikes from you. You must fulfill your promise and let this lady go. Nangong Lan laughed sarcastically. She spread out her hands and asked, Let her go? Did I say anything like that? Who can prove it? Do. Nangong Yuni's eyes were burning with anger. Your words don't count. Despicable and shameless. Nangong Lan faintly smiled. She walked in front of Nangong Yuni, lowered her head, and looked down at him from above. It was you who thought that your identity as a bastard child was too shameful. You willingly endured these 10 strikes. What does that have to do with me? Why should I let this woman go? Chapter 1119. Nangong Yuni's body went soft. He didn't even have the strength to stand up. He stared at Nangong Lan with eyes filled with hatred. If his gaze was a knife, Nangong Lan would definitely be cut into pieces. Hate! Nangong Lan lowered her body and smiled at Nangong Yuni. Back then, when you came to the Nangong family, I felt the same way as you do now. From that moment on, I have been planning how to deal with you. Nangong Lan. Nangong Yuni's voice was very weak. It was so weak that it seemed like it would disappear at any moment. One day, I will tear you into pieces. Haha. Nangong Lan laughed out loud. Dismember the corpse into 10,000 pieces? Nangong Yuni, I'm afraid you don't have that ability. Father was too stupid in the past to protect a bastard like you. This time, I will not give you another chance. She raised the hammer in her hand again and fiercely smashed it on Nangong Yuni's ankle. Crack! The sound of bones breaking rang out in the quiet prison. Nangong Yuni gritted his teeth. He pressed on the broken bone on his ankle. He stubbornly and unwillingly stared at Nangong Lan. His handsome pale face was as firm as a mountain. His sharp eyebrows didn't even frown. This broken leg is my reward for stealing Father's love for all these years. Now, you can enjoy everything in front of you. Ha! Nangong Lan's laughter was crazy. Her sinister face twisted. It was as if torturing Nangong Yuni gave her great pleasure. At the same time, at the entrance of the Nangong family, the metal door was cut in half by a sword. The 2 guards guarding the door didn't even have time to react. They were instantly hit in the chest by a force and fell into the door. At the entrance, a young girl stepped through the door. Her white clothes fluttered in the wind. Her eyes were arrogant and domineering. Her evil black eyes flashed with killing intent. It was as if a gust of wind had been set off around her, making people not dare to get close. Get Nangong Qing out here. Following the young girl's cold shout, Nangong Qing, who was originally discussing in the hall, immediately walked out with a group of elders. When he saw Yun Luofeng, his expression changed slightly. He lowered his head and gave an order to the person beside him. The man accepted the order and hurriedly retreated. Miss Yun, I trust you have been well since we last met. Nan Gongqing glanced at the servant who was walking away and smiled insincerely. Yun Luofeng's evil eyes glanced at Nan Gongqing. Where's Whitey? What shall buy? Nan Gongqing pretended to be confused as he looked at her. Lin Rubai, my disciple. In other words, the girl you captured on the street. Yun Luofeng slowly approached Nan Gongqing. Where is she? Nan Gongqing's eyes flickered a few times before he laughed dryly and said, I don't know what you mean by that. We did capture a woman on the street, but that woman had already become a demon. I was afraid that she would threaten the safety of the continent, so I took her away. Milk tea. Rat Queen. Yun Luofeng's gaze turned cold, and he ordered coldly, Search for me. Whoever dares to stop me will be killed without mercy. As soon as she said those words, the murderous aura around the young girl grew even stronger. Her fine black hair danced in the wind and her white robes fluttered in the wind. She raised her chin slightly and her peerlessly demonic face was filled with a thick murderous intent. In an instant, 2 rays of light flashed and landed in front of Yun Luofeng. Of the 2 people, one was a budding youth and the other was a noble and arrogant woman. Chapter 11:20. In front of Yun Luofeng, the 2 of them lowered their heads and said respectfully, Yes, master. What? As soon as they finished speaking, the 2 of them turned into a beam of light and quickly rushed out of the crowd. Their speed was too fast, so fast that no one could catch them. Yun Luofeng looked at Nan Gongqing from the corner of her eye. Her arrogant eyes were filled with a domineering aura. If Xiaobai loses a single hair, I will kill 1 person from your Nangong family. If she leaves a drop of blood behind, I will make everyone from your Nangong family pay tribute to her. Nan Gongqing's face turned ugly. Miss Yun, don't you think you are being too rude and unreasonable? You should be reasonable. Besides, our Nangong family doesn't know that woman is your disciple. No matter what, he had to delay until the ancestral elders arrived. Otherwise, who knew if this woman would go crazy? Boom! Yun Luofeng's aura surged. The wind around her uprooted the surrounding trees and rushed towards Nan Gongqing. Nan Gongqing didn't have time to react. The trees were already in front of him. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, with a bang, his entire body was buried by the trees. Cough, cough. Nan Gongqing coughed twice and climbed up from under the tree. He looked at Yun Luofeng with an ashen face. Miss Yun is your friend. Why must you be so heartless? It's useless even if you bring up Nan Gong Yuni. I will still say the same thing. If Xiaobai loses a drop of blood, I will make your 3 great families die with her. As soon as he finished speaking, an old and disdainful voice came from the void. Such big words. I don't know what ability you used to destroy my 3 great families. Gradually, several figures appeared from the void. These people were all dressed in gray robes. They had the demeanor of immortals and looked down on all living things. The person who had just spoken looked similar to Nan Gongqing. From this, it could be seen that this old man was from the Nan Gong family. What ability do I have? Won't you know after you try? Yun Luofeng smiled. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. Her deep black eyes were filled with evil. Ha! The gray-robed old man laughed wildly. Good. Then I want to see what kind of ability a little girl like you has. The instant he finished speaking, the gray-robed old man had already charged down. His speed was extremely fast, and he arrived in front of Yun Luofeng in an instant. The old man's attack was swift and fierce, and his moves were extremely ruthless. He aimed for Yun Luofeng's vital points. Yun Luofeng dodged to the side when she saw the old man's swift and fierce palm wind. Then, the sword in her hand drew a sword wind and landed on the old man's waist. The old man laughed coldly and easily dodged Yun Luofeng's sword before launching the next wave of attacks. Let's go together. The other elders frowned. They clearly did not think that Yun Luofeng would be able to dodge a saint's attack with his power. Therefore, they did not even stop to think as they quickly charged towards the young lady below. At this moment, they'd long since disregarded their face, and they only wanted to subdue Yun Luofeng as quickly as possible. At this moment, a crowd had already gathered outside the Nangong family's gate. These people had all witnessed the conflict between Lin Ruabai and the 3 aristocratic families. Hence, When Yun Luofeng came to settle the score with the Nangong nobles, they had all followed him. Chapter 11:21. Their goal was to see whether the medical tower would emerge victorious in this battle, or whether the three great families' territories would remain as stable and unshakable as a mountain. Just as the elders were rushing towards Yun Luofeng, countless vines suddenly appeared on the ground. These vines were like swimming dragons as they tried to entangle the elders. One of the elders was caught off guard and was entangled by the vines, unable to move. When his companion saw this, he immediately pulled out his sword and tried to cut off the vines. However, the vines were as strong as steel. His sword could not cut them off. What is this? His face was pale and his eyes were filled with fear. Why can't I cut it off with my strength? Just as he was about to retreat, the vines suddenly attacked him from the side. However, he did not notice this at all. If it was not for Nangong Qing's scream, perhaps he would have coincidentally dodged the vine. However, Nangong Qing screamed instead. "Elder O Xing, be careful." When he heard this, O Xing instinctively paused. And because he stopped, the vines instantly wrapped around his body. The entire Nangong family became deathly silent. The previously arrogant elders could only dodge the vines that could not be cut off. They had no time to spare to deal with Yun Luofeng. At this moment, in the dark and damp prison, Nangong Lan stepped hard on Nangong Yuni's back. Her lips curled into a cold smile. She bent down and said in a sinister voice, "Nangong Yuni, are you in pain? Don't worry, just beg me. Maybe I will let you die a quick death." Nangong Yuni closed his eyes. His actions had already expressed his inner thoughts. Even if he died, he would not beg for mercy. "All right, you have a backbone. Since that's the case, I will first gouge out your eyes, then cut off your limbs. I want to see how tough you can be." Nangong Lan flipped Nangong Yuni's body over. A dagger suddenly appeared in her hand and she gestured at his eyes. "Tell me, should I gouge out your left eye or right eye first?" Nangong Lan laughed coldly. "Of course, if you insult Yun Luofeng, I'll leave one of your eyes. If you say that I'm prettier than Yun Luofeng, that I'm more talented than Yun Luofeng, then I'll leave both of your eyes behind." Nangong Yuni still didn't utter a single word. His eyes were tightly shut, and his demeanor of facing death with equanimity completely infuriated Nangong Lan. "Nangong Yuni, I'm telling you, Yun Luofeng is no match for me." A fierce look flashed across Nangong Lan's eyes. For her to be able to break through to this realm, she must have used something to raise her strength. Just based on talent, even 10 Yun Luofengs cannot compare to one of me. As for looks, I am the #1 beauty of Endless City. What does Yun Luofeng count as? Men who think she's prettier than me are all blind. All these years, Nangong Lan had to disguise herself outside, so she vented all her emotions on Nangong Yuni. "You don't want to insult her? Fine. Then I'll cut off your tongue as well, so that you won't be able to say a single word in the future." Her dagger moved from his eyes to his lips, and then fiercely pried open Nangong Yuni's lips. Her smile was sinister and terrifying. Nangong Yuni felt the coldness on the tip of his tongue. His body trembled slightly, but he eventually regained his calm. He opened his eyes and looked at Nangong Lan with pity. Indeed, this Nangong Lan was too pitiful. Right now, she could only use these words to numb herself,